Go. Smoke.
Friction. And smoke.
And smoke. Nice.
And Max. Friction,
Max.
smoke, and Max.
And
Max Levi.
Max Levi, that's right.
Got it right this time.
Just like the jeans.
Just like the jeans.
Only less comfortable.
So yeah, Friction and Smoke, episode 3. On the couch we have Max Levi, who, as I was saying to these guys earlier, like
I wasn't recording the vocals.
Just now? You just started?
Just now they started.
We're good now.
So Friction and Smoke, episode 3.
Episode 3.
Max Levi.
Of Lawless
just like
Forge.
the jeans.
Just like the
of
jeans.
Lawless Forge.
Yep.
Pretend like there was intro music.
Yep. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Now we're good to go.
Yes, and I was just saying that, you know, as I look around the room with both Ben and Max on the couch and Cash, it's like 3 of my favorite mammals in the world are here, so I can't be in a bad mood, right? It's like, right?
This is a good Sunday.
Yeah, it's a good Sunday.
It's funny because when we were talking about this, you came up as one of the first people. When we were talking about having other people, because it originally started with supposed to be my transformation story, and then we would talk about stuff moving forward. You were one of the first people who came up, and so I was
guys.
like,
Yeah,
this is super
perfect.
flattering. It's my first podcast.
No,
so
well,
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, Ben's exactly right. I think Max he literally was number 1 or 2 that I put on our list.
Yep.
I'm blushing. Like,
Yeah.
flattering.
You should be, and that's the thing. I mean, the whole kind of theme behind this podcast, and we're tightening it up, and we're bringing in guests who are super interesting. But really, and like Ben said, it started with his story, which was kind of the struggle, both that he's put himself through and what's happened to him in life, and how he's overcome that, and how I think the fundamental theme behind the podcast is really like how much we thrive in struggle, though it's a very hard thing to embrace at the time. We know that it's what makes us creative, what pushes us, what helps us go to the next level.
Yeah.
And so as I was going through a list of people, like Max, this dude, I mean, he's just like balls out all the time when it comes to like these life business choices and, you know, things that I've been too fearful to do. Max he just fucking does it. And that's what I love about him. Plus,
my kind of guy.
Yeah.
So that's why you like us both, because we're the risk takers.
Yeah. I like the borderline.
That's why I like Cassius too. Totally. Balls out.
Totally. Yeah, the borderline, almost like psychotic nature of and impulsiveness that you guys have. Like, I'm definitely attracted to that because it's a scary thing for me. So yeah, for sure.
Me too. Yeah, we'll get all into
we'll get into it. Yeah,
but
but so I think let's just kick it right off. So Max, we should probably talk about how we met first of all, and then we can go backwards a little bit about where you came from and what brought you here and all that stuff.
Absolutely. So I met Phil. This is like the best first date story I've ever had.
Best, yeah.
First date?
First date.
Oh, I thought you said first aid.
No, it was like a straight up first date story.
Yeah, so I came out to Seattle to interview for Microsoft. This is like, ooh.
Well, tell us.
Your headphones?
That was something on my end, I think.
Okay, I'm trying to turn up my headphones and it's not working.
Okay.
You are number.
Oh, that's because I moved my headphones over there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, why'd you do that? Sorry about the technical delay, folks. Ben, who's a recording artist, can't figure out how to use his headphones.
Yo, okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're talking about how Max and I met, which I think is interesting because I want you to go even one step further. When you had a job, there was an interest in you at Microsoft to come out here for a job opportunity. But how did that opportunity actually come about? Because that's a kooky story.
Yeah. This is kind of like straight out of a movie. It feels like. So I went to Penn State University, big school, Pennsylvania. In case you haven't heard of it.
Yep.
Joe Paterno. That thing. Let's not get into it. Well, I was the mascot for Penn State. I was the Penn State Nittany Lion. This was
the big stuffy, furry animal that.
So bar none, ugliest mascot in the nation. It looks like a bear. It looks like a dog. It looks like a lion. You don't know. So it's like just a bear dog lion. That's what people would call it. So it's
So you do flips and somersaults and
absolutely
stuff?
Totally.
Yeah, I was a gymnast for like
awesome.
15 years growing up. So when it came time to try out for the
the
mascot,
he could do some crazy shit. He taught me how to do a backflip.
yeah, it took Phil like 2 hours to learn a backflip, never having done
Courtesy of
anything
Max.
before.
It would probably take me like
My 40th birthday.
2 years.
It was before,
No.
yeah. It was like 30.
No, dude. I thought the same thing. I'll never be able to do this. And
2 hours.
Max had this progression. Anyway, so we'll talk about the gymnast thing. But so you were a Nittany Lion.
Yeah.
At Penn State.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that means like all the games that you were kind of like part of the cheer squad, right?
Yeah, man. It's a full-time gig. Most universities have multiple mascots. Penn State is unique in the sense that there's only one at a time. And so you do all the football games, home and away.
Jesus.
You do all home basketball games, men and women. All home volleyball games, men and women. You do soccer, volleyball,
Man.
rugby.
So
everything.
how many times a week are you strapping on the furry outfit?
Dude, it's I don't know actually what's allowed, but it's like at least 40 hours a week. I mean, you're sweating in this thing a lot.
Did you just have one, or do you have like multiple?
No, you have a few suits
Because you
kinda
could probably
run through.
mess each one up.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you just wore.
I know I'd get sweaty and mess it up.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, one of the football games. It was an away football game. Before the football game, Penn State has these like rally tents where they get all the wealthy donors and to come to this tent as a thank you. It's just a meet and greet kind of thing. They have the cheerleaders and the mascot and the blue band, which is the Penn State marching band.
Yeah.
They do all their performances there for all these big donors. Well, next to the tent, there was a Microsoft promo tent, like a tailgating tent. So my coach, after my performance at the tent, he goes, "Hey man, a couple of the Microsoft guys are Penn State grads. They really want to see the mascot." This is like, mind you, a week after I ran the Ironman, like on the East Coast, and I'm just dripping sweat. We're in DC. It's like August.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my legs are just not working. I mean, I just traveled 144 miles by foot, you know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
my coach is like, "Here, I need you to do a little extra." And in the suit, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, there's no way." He's like, "Just go." So I go over there, and this one guy like grabs me. I'm in the suit. And he grabs me. He's like, "Lion, can I have your autograph, please?" And Penn State fans love the mascot. They're like fanatics. So I was like, in the suit you can't talk. So I was like, "Sure." So I grab a Microsoft napkin and I said, "The Nittany Lion." I did the autograph, and below it I said, "Please give me a job." It was a joke. It was like, it's a Microsoft.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I'm a senior in college.
Some Microsoft exec, again, just balls out, just give me a job.
Well, and so like 2 months later, I get a call from some secretary at Microsoft being like, "This VP would like to offer you a position with Microsoft." And I was like, "Haha, who is this?" And like, "No, seriously." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I sit down with this VP and his executive team on like a Saturday morning, right before a football game, like a few weeks later. I'm hungover. My hair is like shaggy. It just looked like a total piece. And this guy's like, "Hey man, I don't know if you remember meeting me, but you were in the suit and I asked you for your autograph, and below it you said, 'Please give me a job.'" He's like, and I thought that was really cool. And I don't know if you did that as a joke, but luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And this guy's like, so I looked into your grades. He spoke to some of the professors, I believe.
Jesus, I didn't know he did that much
I
background.
think so.
I bet he did. I bet
yeah.
he did.
And he's like, "And you check out." He's like, "So would you like to work for Microsoft?" And I'm like, "Let me think about it."
And you're a senior in college. You're
Yeah.
a mascot. You probably didn't know what you were going to go to do after college was
Absolutely
over. Right?
not, man.
Okay.
I mean, so I majored in math, economics, and statistics because my dad's a mathematician. And I was like, "I don't know what the hell I want to do after college." And he goes, "Well, you should just study math. It's good for everything." Guess what? Like, was useless. I mean, it's good for problem solving, right? But like,
Yeah.
it never helped me get a job. So, anyways, I thought it was a good job. I couldn't get an interview with like a finance company or
Right.
Consulting company. They wouldn't look at me. So that's how I ended up landing at Microsoft in a sales role, of all things.
So I'm just going to jump in. So this stuff all kind of lines up. They want to bring Max in for an interview at Microsoft. It's a pretty intensive. There we go.
Thanks.
It's a pretty intensive interview process, like a loop. So you'll talk to 5 or 6 people who are somewhat relevant to the job that you're interviewing for. It's a full day for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It takes lots of prep work if you're not going to fuck it up. So I get this call. It was like a Tuesday night. My friend Tracy, like dear friend of mine, higher up than me at Microsoft. She was my manager at the time. She calls me and she said, hey, Sig's got a candidate in town. So Sig is the VP that Max met. Sig's got a candidate in town, and he really wants us to kind of pull out all the stops and just show him how cool Seattle is because he's from the East Coast. And can you show him around a little bit tonight? And I'm like, and I go to Tracy, this is the level where I'm like, so is this like a date? Like what's good? You know anything about that? She goes, I know nothing about the guy. I know Sig likes him. I'm sure it'll be fine.
If you get like a VP calling you,
yeah,
you're like, who is this guy? Like you got to be pretty senior, to be getting.
So I get this call. I get this call from my boss. Her boss is telling her to get basically put an entertainment committee together for this candidate who's interviewing the next day. So
and naturally, Phil being a DJ, they're like, this guy knows how to have fun.
Oh yeah, Tracy's like, well, so So I'm in this hotel. Phil rolls up, and Phil's got this nice Porsche.
It was
like
when he had the Porsche.
And so Phil, a handsome guy, comes down. He's fit. He's wearing like.
I had a salmon. It wasn't pink. It was like a salmon color V-neck. Well, I'm not going to say pink.
Later, I learned that I interrupted a date, like his second date with his last girlfriend.
Oh,
it was like you guys were.
Right, I had to pull the plug
with
Melinda.
Yeah. He was like going on a date with this. It was like a second date they had, right?
And then
he gets this call to come take me out. So he's like ready for this date, dressed to the nines. He's a handsome guy.
In the Porsche.
In the Porsche.
To pull up. And I was like,
so that was probably right after you got the Porsche then.
Yeah, it was pretty
because
soon after.
Melinda was like right after you got that Porsche.
So you got both. Yeah. So and then I was thinking like, oh man, I'm like, I felt so bad. Like I told Sig on the phone, I was like, please don't have anybody take me out.
Right.
I felt so. It was like was it like a Tuesday or a Saturday?
It was like a Tuesday, dude.
Either way, it sucked. Like
it was not my plan to go hang out with some joker that I had no idea about
for work related.
For work, take him to dinner. Do I do a strip club? Like I don't even know. Like I'm not even good at this stuff, right? Like so.
And I'm just out of college. Like I don't deserve this treatment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so anyway, so Phil rolls up and I was like, God damn it! Like this is going to be a date. Like we're going on a date.
We're going on a date. I pull up in a blacked out Porsche that just it looked like the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And then I have a pink shirt on, V-neck, because like Max said, I was planning to go out with a girl. And then I
so
see
he totally thought that you were there to go out with him.
He knew I was there to pick him up, and I see Max walking out. He's got like a turquoise V-neck on, and Max is for the folks who aren't watching. Max is a super fit guy, and so I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be weird. We got two guys in V-necks.
I was like, and I'm in Seattle, like
who don't know each other.
I was like, we don't hear much about Seattle, but like, there's a huge community out here.
So I mean, straight up, I'm assuming Max is gay, which is
and me too.
Nothing wrong with
you. Were assuming you were gay. When you saw him, he made you gay. I got
it. So Max and I both have that first 30-second Terminator moment where we're doing the scans on each other and both definitely figure out we're gay. But we're going to make the most of it. Max has a big job interview in the morning. I'm trying to do friends a favor, and it's good visibility for me. The optics are good. And so Max gets into the car, and then I'm like, well, what would be a good place to take?
And this is what he chooses.
So I think, well,
he takes him to a gay bar.
No, almost.
Even better.
So I'm like, well, where's a good, Kirkland, Anthony's Homeport? It's a beautiful night. So I take Max to Anthony's, which is really it's a romantic place.
That sunset, man. It's like they put like me and Phil like not even like we're sort of like I think
they gave you the next
here, I'm here, so we're not even like across each other.
Yeah, no, the lady who sat us, she also was confused whether we were a couple on a first date.
She's totally
we're doing weird, like we're like trying to figure each other out
without offending each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not like, it can't like come out to this job interview and be like, yo, dude, you gay? Like I don't care one way or the other.
And I didn't want to be the guy. I didn't want to be the guy that offends the candidate, who my VP ordered me to take out. So we're just like trying to feel each other out in a nice way, but it's a fucking minefield. Like, and the gal who sat us, she obviously thought we were a couple.
Felt like we were for a minute.
It did feel like we were, and then what happened?
Well, at one point, either you or I were like, "Hey, man, I'm not." Like, I swear it was like you go, "Hey, I'm not." And I was like, "Me neither." Like, you didn't have to finish. Like, okay. And then I was just like, "Oh, wait, maybe it was something along the lines of where I think." Oh yeah, I said like. I think the waitress thinks we're on a date.
Oh, that's what you eased in that way. You say, I think the waitress thinks we're on a date. That's exactly right. and then I think I said, hey, just so you know, let's just clear the air. I'm not. And then you finished my sentence. Me neither. And so we realized. And from there, it was like we broed out. We went to the Microsoft campus. We had a good dinner, and it was just. But it was weird how much weird pressure there was because we didn't want to offend each other. We didn't want to,
Phil was literally the first person outside of like the receptionist at the hotel that I met. So he's one of my very first Seattle friends.
Yeah.
So it's been 7 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years.
wow.
So yeah, we ended up hanging out for like 3 hours, having an amazing time.
Yeah, it was great.
An amazing first date. Once we
Did you guys kiss at the end?
We did.
It was a grope. It was like a peck and a grope,
Well, the funny thing is, I was just thinking when you were talking about this, I was like, is it rude to ask somebody if they're gay?
I think it could.
I don't know, man.
Because
I think
I mean,
by asking it sort of implies that you care to some degree, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the offensive part.
Yeah, that makes
Right,
sense.
because like, why would it matter? When like, well, I mean, people have their opinions. My opinion is, I don't care.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't care.
I agree.
It's not really my business unless it is my business. Like if Phil thinks we're on a date, then it's my business. Because then I'm like, right? Because I don't
Yeah.
want to be there. I don't want to be on that date. But in general, I don't know. It's just situational.
I feel
Yeah,
like
I agree.
that's a good question. I think in what you said 7 years ago, so that was
13.
It was
2013,
2012.
2012.
So that was right when I left.
Yeah, that was right around the time you left, and I think back in that environment, it maybe would have been a little more offensive. It was like all pronouns stuff that
yeah.
were. It's
Yeah.
probably less offensive today because like, what's your pronoun?
I
what's
guess you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a.
Never thought of that.
I was careful about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just now. And listen, I got into a lot of trouble, like at Microsoft, for saying things that you're not supposed to say. Like one time, I asked my female colleague, or I was like, "Hey, you look tired."
I love that shit.
It's so funny. Like now I think I'm like, God, you're an idiot. You don't know.
You
this
look tired.
23-year-old.
You look
You look tired. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Because I cared, but don't do that.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Oh,
You can't do that. Well, Max is. I mean, again, one of the other attributes I love about Max is he's East Coast, very straightforward, very direct, and almost for the maybe the faint-hearted, maybe he can come across as a little abrasive. I mean that in a nice way, but that's like the thing. I dig.
Totally being nice by calling you a dick.
Yeah, he's a total dick at times, but it's also allowed me to like reevaluate how overly PC I am at times too. So
Yeah.
it's good to see somebody like Max navigating the world, being very direct and very honest, and potentially hurting some feelings.
Definitely adapted. Like it's part of growing up. It's also part of Seattle culture is very different.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right, so
Where are you from originally?
So I was born in Boston.
Okay.
But I left when I was like 3 months old.
Yeah.
I was an early walker.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So I was like, so I grew up in like upstate New York. Spent some time in Switzerland, actually, of all places. My dad-
Living? I didn't know you lived in Switzerland.
Yeah, we lived there for I think it was like a year and a half.
Okay.
Maybe 2 years. And then upstate New York, right outside of Albany, and then like Rochester or like
Okay.
sorry,
I had a
Saratoga Springs.
Okay. I had a buddy from Rochester.
Yeah, that place is a
I've
toilet.
never been. Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
I never.
He was totally. He would totally live up to
Okay.
that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, his personality. He looked like he came from a toilet.
Yeah, my cousins are from Rochester. I love them. They're
Yeah.
great, but Rochester.
I haven't been there to Rochester, so if anybody gets offended, like it's these two.
But
It's not me.
see, that's
They
exactly
probably think
it.
the same
See,
thing. They're like,
that
this
was
voice is a toilet.
that's exactly the thing. The Seattle thing. It just came out. Just don't be offended.
I'm
And we're
deflecting.
like,
Right.
Yeah, totally. So okay, so you grew up East Coast, grew up in Rochester, but it's interesting because your parents, you're first generation here
Totally.
in the U.S., right?
Yeah, both my parents were from the Soviet Union, so they're political refugees. My family's Jewish, like non-practicing Jews,
Right.
and so my dad grew up in Latvia, my mom grew up in Ukraine, and separately they came to the United States in the late 70s.
Oh, so they didn't come together.
No, they came. Yeah, actually, you know what I just recently learned? That my mom was fake married in Russia.
No shit.
I had no idea. until, like,
to a Russian person.
yeah, that she met like one time. It was for some work thing to allow
Okay.
her to. I don't know. It was like a
Your
visa
mom, your
thing.
mom's a baller, dude.
Dude, my mom is-
She is a business lady. Like, she's awesome.
Awesome lady. You guys should have her on the show.
Oh, I'd love to, man. Next time she's in town, your mom and your dad. I mean, they're both great, but they're
Yeah.
so different. Yeah.
Oh, very. Yeah. So both my parents were from the Soviet Union. They came separately in the 70s. They met when my dad was doing postdoc work. I
Okay.
think.
Because he's a mathematician.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's a mathematician. My mom is a builder now, or like a land developer.
Yeah.
Right. But at the time, she was a student, not his student.
Right.
But I was like, that'd be kind of hot though. Like,
Yeah.
go dad, you know? Or go mom. 'cause
Come
that's
on,
how you-
whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I grew up speaking Russian. I learned Russian before I learned English.
Yeah.
But now my Russian's probably like I would say like an 8-year-old level. So I'm fluent for sure. I understand everything, but my grammar's a little sloppy.
But it matches your emotional maturity.
Totally.
Right.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Like,
That of an 8-year-old.
when I speak Russian as an 8-year-old, people are like, oh, it fits perfect. You look 8.
It's the baby
speak
thing.
like, yeah.
And he's got a massive Great Dane named Zhuk. It's one of those words that I say, and then you always correct me, but it always sounds exactly the same as you say it. It's one of those arrogant Russian things, I think.
Yeah, it's just the Max thing.
But his dog actually speaks 2 languages too.
Well, he doesn't speak much, but he responds.
He responds. Fair enough. He responds to Russian and to English. So
How old are you now?
I'm 32.
Okay.
It took me a second. I was like, every time somebody asks me that question, it's like, I got this one question in an interview one time. It wasn't a question, it was just a demand. Tell me a joke. I was like, when somebody asks me my age, I always just shit the bed. I'm like, I don't know. Like when they ask you that at the grocery store.
Dude, tell me a joke.
87 or 88?
I'm
88.
88, okay.
Yeah. When were you born?
87.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, you guys, and Ben's birthday is this month.
Yep, 28.
Well, we got Ben an early birthday present. Max got me a present just because I asked, but we all have our Lawless Forge t-shirts on, which we'll talk about Lawless in a second.
Yeah, tell us how you guys like the non-deep V.
I love it, man. I love it. But I don't.
This is the only V-neck I own.
Yeah,
I'm
Ben's not a
excited
V-neck guy, but it looks good on you.
Oh, we forced him to wear it. He's like, oh.
We forced Ben into a V-neck. It's
Phil asked if it would offend me, and then Max was like, put it on, and I was like,
faster. Peer pressure, man.
Yeah, exactly. So grew up in the East Coast. Regular childhood. You got brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah, I've got 3 sisters and 1 brother. So I'm right in the middle of 5.
That's why the girls love you, though, because you have that multi-female exposure. I find that guys that grew up with a lot of females in their life usually do better with the ladies. It seems like, or else they end up in the friend zone a lot.
Yeah.
It depends how you look, I think.
Well, it's also easy to stay in if I want to be in the friend zone.
Yeah, I'm terrible at the friend zone.
I love having friends who are just girls, like platonic.
Terrible at it.
And for me, it's like second nature.
Yeah.
It's like having a sister. I'm like, I know what this is.
I literally got 5 girlfriends.
Yeah.
And then, actually maybe 6 if I count Kelsey.
Sure. Yeah.
Consider her a friend.
You guys. Yeah.
But yeah, I just a million guy friends, but I just never been a guy girl friend dude.
You were always closer with your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I never thought of that, but I have 2 older sisters.
Yeah.
And so when I was 300 pounds, I was always in the friend zone.
Yeah.
But and then it changed when I lost weight. But I never, even when I was bigger, I never had a problem having women around me.
Right.
Yeah. And I never put it to that factor, but I was pretty much raised by my mom and my sisters.
I think when you have that female influence, you're sort of indoctrinated, whether you know it or not, with just what the needs of females that I didn't fully understand.
Totally.
And
you have that level of comfortability.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
I'm super awkward.
And people. It's how infectious our feelings are.
Move the mic more that way. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. Yeah. How infectious our attitude is.
There it is.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
It's completely unspoken, but if you're just comfortable, you're at ease around somebody.
Yeah.
They just respond in kind. So it's when you're with a girl, there's absolutely no pressure you're putting on, and it's no awkwardness about even being quiet around each other. Just like how you are with your guys.
Yeah. I just haven't really figured out how to crack that code, except with a few really close. Like Tracy's one of my friends. I got a friend in Idaho, Marnie. Like we're that type, but I've just never been good at the deep.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, and my friend Danielle, who I went to that concert with, the one on the who sings with me, one of the things she always says about me is she's like, you're just so chill. She's like, that's what is attractive about you. Because there's never been attraction between me and her. Yeah. I'm friends with her husband. Yeah. It's not like that. Right. But she was telling me, she was like, it's funny to watch you with people. And she's like, people are just comfortable around you. And I think that probably attributes to that. Because I'm used to it.
Definitely plays part of it. Because I know that's where, even though I had an older sister, I definitely am lacking in some of the soft skills when it comes to crossing the gender line. Girls won't say that I'm a jerk, but they'll definitely there's definitely an
Max isn't afraid.
I will talk to any dude anytime, anywhere, but there's always just a little bit more. There's a few more layers when I interact with females. We were walking in the neighborhood, and then we'll get back on track. But there's a female neighbor up there with her daughter, just up the street. They were outside kind of having a little picnic. They said hi. They were very nice. But I was with Heidi and I was with Cassius. And if I wouldn't have been with Heidi, they wouldn't have engaged me. I just know this. I look like a dick when I like a bald guy, tattoos with a big pit bull. Like nobody wants to talk to me. But then I have my wife with me, and she just really softens the edges around that. So it helps me out.
Yeah.
See, now you got it. Can you hear yourself better?
I can hear myself a bit better. Yeah.
All right,
good.
Cool.
You guys hear me?
I can turn your headphones up. Let me know how that is.
Well, my biggest thing was I can hear my vocals very strong even from back here, and yours pretty strong because you're pretty dialed in on it. But I was trying to just make sure that
just let me know.
Fair enough.
No,
you're good.
You sound great now.
Awesome.
You're good. So 3 sisters, one brother.
One brother. Yeah, he acts like a sister though. So
4 sisters.
4 sisters.
4 sisters.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's gonna love that.
My parents are still married, which I feel like is odd.
That's a real rarity.
It's really rare these days.
You and Sawblade. All of our guests.
Our last guest had married parents too, which is like crazy because I'm not used to that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Heidi's parents are still together.
Heidi's parents are still together too.
So maybe it's not that big of a thing. Maybe we just
or maybe I'm like I don't know.
What's wrong with you, man?
Totally. So you grew up in the East Coast with your brother, your sister. Was it? I mean, you guys are from Russia, or your parents are from Russia. So was there a lot of Russian influence, even though you were living in the States, or were they pretty? How did that go?
So that's a very interesting topic, just because I think in large part that defines my upbringing. Right. So my parents, I spoke Russian before I spoke English.
Yeah.
We didn't have much money. Like my dad, was a math professor, probably making $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
My mom she was like a realtor, but she had 5 kids, right? So we didn't have.
Dude, when you meet her, she's so nice and soft spoken, but fierce businesswoman, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She's like 4'10", maybe. I don't like.
And she wears like the Costco like New Balance shoes,
totally,
and like mom jeans, and then but you don't want to get in a negotiation with her.
She's like. She's made of steel. She's the tallest 5'1" lady you're ever going to see in your life.
100%.
Anyway, so we didn't have much money. I wore hand-me-downs from I'd get like tank tops from my sister and these little like booty shorts, like leopard. I remember I had these like Everlast leopard print. Like,
were your sister's shorts?
They were hand-me-downs from my sister, but I wore them and I loved them. Man. I was like, yeah, these are comfortable. And like, it wouldn't have been a big deal in Switzerland or in Russia, but like growing up in New York, all
wearing little leopard short shorts.
Totally not speaking English. Like,
oh my god,
so it was this really interesting balance because I spoke Russian at home. I dressed not like an American.
Yeah,
all I ever wanted was to fit in. And like I just couldn't. I just didn't. I was so weird. I had these big glasses. I'm like half blind, Yeah. I had a patch at one point.
I did too.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, miserable.
What did you have? Eye surgery, or what was the? No. It was to strengthen the muscles in the other eye, right? In your non-dominant eye.
Yeah, and it totally didn't work. They took it off my eye. I was just like, ugh. I have like this lazy eye. My eye is so. It just doesn't even. Yeah, it just takes walks. Like. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've noticed. Only this year have I noticed how one of your eyes, like, will focus on me more.
It goes Cookie Monster. I don't see in stereo vision. I was born cross-eyed, so I had multiple surgeries as a kid, and then wore a patch, and so I have one weak eye. So a lot of times I'm only focusing with one eye or the other.
That's exactly what.
Never both. It's like I'm never looking in stereo.
Yeah. It's
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know any different, right? But I just got so sick of people looking over their shoulder when I was talking to them. They're like. What are you looking at?
I know. I still to this day. I'm
like, what's behind you? Like, why does everybody have things behind them?
Dude, it's weird. It happens to me a lot too, especially when I'm tired or hungover or whatever. Like, they kind of go.
Yeah, that's how Kelsey knows I'm tired. She's like, when you're tired,
you're drifting.
So it's just this weird kid.
Yeah,
like just very, very
Coke bottle
odd.
Glasses, leopard shorts.
Yeah, and also like even growing up, like as I got older. A lot of things that kids valued, I just didn't. So when you ask me about the Russian influence, that's not nearly, I wouldn't say I identify as Russian. I would identify more as like more Jewish culture because like, my parents don't drink.
Okay.
They don't not drink, right?
Yeah.
But they'll have like a glass of wine occasionally. They don't drink vodka. They don't. I don't love nice cars like a lot of Russian dudes in America do, right? I don't wear.
And then crash them for the insurance.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Oh, I hope Geico's not listening. My FBI agent's like,
Yeah, that's
my
right.
FBI
Yeah,
agent.
I got you.
DJing in
picked it up.
clubs, I always knew when the Russians were in the house because
Totally.
it smelled like Angel from Men
Armani.
was it, or Armani, and then
Yeah.
lots of like jeans with fancy pockets in the back
yeah.
and like the shiny pointy kind of shoes.
Pointy shoes,
It's
for
like the Russian nightclub outfit. No offense, Russian guys, but you guys got to look for
I mean,
sure.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I never identified or never like that never had an appeal to me. I just wanted to be like a normal American kid.
Yeah, and
Right.
no idea how to get there.
No idea. And frankly, it was kind of like I guess I didn't want it bad enough to try, because the influence that I had was like, it was very good to be studious, very good to like, to be good at whatever it is that you're doing. And
Right.
for me, that was gymnastics. For me, that was studying like math and sciences, things like that. And even though I wanted to fit in and like go out on a Friday night with friends, I actually kind of didn't.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even when I was there, I was like, these people are like losers.
Yeah.
Or like, they do like doing all these things. I'm like, I remember my one buddy loved to like break bottles. He'd like throw them at houses and stuff. And I just remember,
It's like a good hobby.
yeah, well, it's just like what a 8th grader boy might do.
Yeah.
For sure.
And all the other guys are laughing. And I remember looking at this and I was like, these people suck.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And although anyway, so definitely there's different, this push and pull. I never felt like I belonged, which kind of in a large part lends itself to a lot of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, which are like really unordinary things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of weird stuff is partially because I grew up comfortable not conforming.
Not conforming.
And like the older I got, the more I appreciated that. That's like one thing that I really like about myself, is that I'm so okay with not going with the
Yeah.
grain. But if for the longest time it was that thing that like upset me the most. It was like, why don't I fit in? Now I'm like, oh, thank God, because like
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my own happiness.
Yeah.
And all of our happiness is actually probably a lot different from the next person's.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of people are just better ignoring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about did your mom get you into gymnastics? What's that deal?
Well, yeah. So it was like the gym was like an hour away from my parents' house, and with two older sisters and a younger brother, my mom would just drag me and my brother.
Oh, because your sisters were doing gymnastics.
Yeah,
I got it.
So my mom would drive my sisters, and she would just have me there, just playing with my thumbs or whatever. And so she threw me into class instead, and I was like, "This sucks. I hated gymnastics." And then she wouldn't let me quit.
Nice.
I was like, God damn it. So like, yeah, man, I started gymnastics when I was like 4 or 5. And she didn't let me quit till I was like 16. And at that point I was like, I don't know anything else.
Wasn't there? Your mom told me a funny story. I think there was a picture in your annual or something where you had your shirt off doing like on the pommel horse or something.
Yeah.
Because her mom was telling me that the girls didn't even notice Max until this picture in one of his annuals. And I don't even know if you knew that she told me this story.
I did
this
not know
picture in
that.
one of the annuals where he's shirt off. I mean, he's a shredded guy anyway, right? But he's doing gymnastics, this nerdy guy, but all of a sudden he's shirt off, ripped. And on like the pommel horse, and all of a sudden girls started paying attention to it. That was like the
I totally forgot.
yeah. Your mom attributed it to that particular picture.
She's not wrong. That was
Yeah.
like, I think it was like 10th grade yearbook or
Yeah.
something. And like things just changed. Like the next, like I came in senior year or junior year, 11th grade, and it was totally different attitude.
You were
like
like-
the guys who made fun of me for being a gymnast were like quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre.
hilarious.
And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Because I didn't have money to buy the yearbook, so I don't have any of the yearbooks. And so I didn't know this picture was out there, right? And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, this is Max.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, that's what your mom said. She said that was the defining moment for you,
so
going
funny.
from kind of nerdy to all of a sudden having attention from females.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So it's just funny because a lot of the stuff you're saying I can totally relate to. Like the yearbook thing, I the only yearbook I had was my senior yearbook.
Yeah.
And
That's bizarre, right?
Right,
That
it
made
is.
you feel so left out. That's
I know.
Everybody's
Everybody's
walking around
signing-
signing them. Yeah. Oh, thanks, brother.
then
You want
sure.
Nicotine toothpicks
Well, and then
by our unofficial sponsor, Nicotine Picks.
Nicotine pick.
our official sponsor, Lawless Forge, of this
Lawless
episode.
Forge is
Yeah, I'm paying them a lot of money for this.
But then for the hand-me-downs, I got church hand-me-downs. That was like what I wore. And maybe you remember this because you're my age. Did you ever see the dogs playing sports shirts?
Yeah,
Like they were
absolutely.
huge. I always wanted the one where like the Rottweiler was playing basketball
That's
against,
what you guys are talking about. This is great.
and I was like, oh man. I wanted that shirt so bad, and I never got it.
I'll one up you there. I remember I wanted this shirt. It was like 3 wolves howling at the moon. Well, like so 90s.
And we didn't buy it. You didn't buy it until 2 years ago or something when it was big on Amazon, right?
Exactly. I bought like 50 of them. Take that.
You guys just
remember from
you guys remember
high school.
those? You remember those Genera hypercolor shirts that like you could put your hand on and then the handprint would show up?
I've never seen that.
Yeah, so that was in my era. So like,
Whoa.
there was this
for
company
sure.
called Genera. I'm aging myself now because these guys are much younger than me. But there was a company called Genera, which was like the uber hip like 80s company, and they had these hypercolor shirts and pants where you could like put your hand, it would respond to body heat, right?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately for girls, like around the pussy area would change the color of the fabric, and like for guys like the armpit, like in theory beautiful, in execution a horrible idea.
Like you don't have to sweat and make it look like you're sweating.
I'd have a big sweat on my back because I'm such a sweaty dude.
Yeah.
Like, can you just imagine? And back your knees and shit, like the shit would change color in all the wrong
And
places.
people are like,
right?
"Yo,
Did
Don't
you just
look
fart because they're like us?" So my buddy Jeremy that I used to work with, he actually tapped into this old warehouse. It was like one of those auction, or you know where they do the storage space auction shows?
Absolutely.
He found a storage space full of Genera hypercolor shirts and whatever. So I think he's been gradually like eBaying them. Because they're now, could you imagine that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
It's like
But
having a
you guys
Tamagotchi or something.
Yeah, you guys reminded me
Like a
because
Beanie
when
Baby.
we all have these eras, like as we're growing up, where certain clothes mean you were cool or not. Like a breeze, for
Absolutely.
me, it was like a breeze and jacket, the Genera stuff,
for me it was dogs playing sports."
right,
I see you.
exactly. So anything else? I think we kind of hopped around in your childhood, but you got into gymnastics pretty early, and not by your own choice, but then you
Right.
stuck with it. You started to enjoy it, or what?
No,
Oh.
I mean, I hate. I really just gymnastics. Like I'm a taller dude for gymnasts.
Yeah.
I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
So I'm actually the second tallest gymnast I've ever met.
Okay.
The only taller guy was actually a gymnast for Penn State. This guy was awesome. Anyways, it's watching him do gymnastics was hilarious. I don't know how his feet didn't hit the floor like when
Right.
he's on bars. Most gymnasts are like 5'4".
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I hated gymnastics, but my mom didn't let me quit. And that's the other thing is like found so much value in doing things you don't like. Not most of life, I would say most of the things you do you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
But you don't do it because you enjoy it. You do it because you have to, or there's some benefit afterwards. For most people, that's work.
Yeah.
Right. That's all they do work for.
Yeah.
They have to make money or status thing or whatever, but they don't enjoy it.
And your
Right.
mom had this wisdom that, and I don't think we see it as often today now,
Absolutely. Sounds
where
abused.
kids hop around to these different sports. Johnny's into piano. No, he wants to play drums. No, he wants to do whatever it is, right? And I think your mom, and I came from a similar sort of attitude. Like I practiced piano. I had to play piano. I fucking hated it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm not
That's
good.
Cool.
Not really.
Huh.
But I hated the music that I was learning, right?
I see.
So once I could play music that I enjoyed, like I got a Stairway to Heaven, I started learning that, and that was cool. But anyway, to your point, like your mom's wisdom of like sticking, she saw value in it. You were obviously talented at it. She kept you in it, and you didn't really have a voice in it to.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would definitely not say I was talented at it, but I worked my ass off.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's actually, I certainly wasn't talented, but I, outlived 99%.
Max
of
is
my-
being humble, modest. He's got some genetic gifts for the folks out there.
I got a brother-in-law who is like Olympic bound gymnast. You know what I mean? So compared to him, it's like there's no question. But I'm more talented than the average person, I would say. But certainly not top like 20%. Nothing like that.
Well, I think 90% of what being successful of anything at is based on your work ethic.
Yeah.
It's not based on your talent for anything.
Right, like the talent,
Because nobody's good at stuff when they first start it.
or if
And
they
then
are,
besides,
if,
like-
if they are and they stick to it and are serious about it, they realize that that's just maybe a minor edge, and
Yeah.
it's less and less. And as you go and kind of meet other experts in the field, you realize like we're all kind of in the same place, whether I was born with this gift and you weren't or not.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we don't know what. I hear this question. They ask a lot of business people. Like, if I'm listening to a podcast, they go, what would you attribute most of your success to hard work or intelligence? And I always thought that's kind of a weird way of thinking about it, because we don't have obviously a formula for it. It's going to be different. Yeah. There's a million different ways. There's an infinite number of ways of getting from A to B.
Yep.
Right. Some are quicker, some are slower.
Into the
Oh, sorry. But the more interesting part of that is, we do know is that without work, your chances are close to zero.
Yeah.
We know that without some intelligence, your chances are close to zero.
Yeah.
We don't know how much of each of these these spices we need, but we need all of them in some combination. Mm. And you can't control your intelligence. You can control how much you know by studying more, doing research, finding the right resources, right? You can but you cannot control your intelligence. Only your knowledge you can control. Mm-hmm. Your hard work is the rare thing you can control.
Yep.
It's like uniquely the one thing you do have power over. It's one of the spices that's required for success, and it's conveniently the only one you have power over in a meaningful way. And I think people forget that.
Do you find
Definitely.
Do you find though, Max? I mean, I think maybe this is just my own excuse for not accomplishing as much as I think I should. I'm not done. I'm not done, but I'm not where I think I should be if I were to look at myself like from a 20-year-old lens. And I think part of that, and maybe I'm giving myself too much credit here, but part of that is there's definitely friction between being intelligent and justifying hard work, I think sometimes. And my point is, if you're analytical, if you observe a lot and you're like, man, I'm doing all this hard work and it doesn't seem like it's returning any results, and you start to really analyze. And I think part of that is this self-awareness and this intelligence that I almost feel like, and you guys can totally disagree with me, I almost feel like if I'm over-indexing on intelligence, those are the times where I've kind of given up, because I was like, wait, this is way too much work for a smart person like myself. I'm just going to move on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, laziness breeds ingenuity for sure. Yeah, that's why we have remotes for the ceiling fans, so we can lay in bed like fat bastards and just turn off. You know, so there's hard work doesn't necessarily mean long hours.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where the intelligence factor comes into as well, because you need to know where to focus your hard work, because you could be the hardest working person in the room, but if you're working on this one point of this project as hard as you can and it doesn't really attribute to the end goal, mm-hmm. then you're not going to be successful. Yeah, it's good for naught. And so
yeah, maybe that's more to my point. Yeah, but I would definitely over intellectualize effort, my output of effort, and over intellectualize the lack of results that I would have expected. And so I think I outthought myself in actually achieving some things. Is my point.
Yeah, I think I can absolutely empathize with that. I don't think I can empathize with that. There's been so many, before I started Lawless, there were so many ideas I passed up.
Yeah.
Regrettably. Well, I wouldn't say regrettably, right? But there's so many things that I wanted to do, I should have done. But I just kind of felt like, overthought it.
Yeah.
And so then I'm the total opposite. I'm like, I like this. Boom.
Done.
And I just focus all my energy on it, and then I fail and try something else. And I'm like, oh, that didn't work.
Next.
Let's see if this works.
I'm envious, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to think about the way we approach that stuff and where certain attributes work against us sometimes versus
absolutely
work for us, right?
And it is crazy, because so much of just like hearing you say that, like I've been like redefining what success is in my own head to different things, because I'm literally making a third of the money that I made last year, mm-hmm. or a quarter of the money that I made the year prior. and so I'm like, but I'm totally fulfilled in what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And I've totally realized how minimalistically I enjoy living. Mm-hmm. So the money isn't, so I'm trying to figure out where I value what's success and what's not. But just hearing this is, it's just kind of eye-opening, because what if I would have not went after some of these things, and maybe I would have been in a different place financially. But
who knows, man?
Who knows?
It's
interesting.
I'm tired of being broke, for sure.
So should we kind of move? We feel like we moved through junior high and kind of high school
I'll
experience.
grab a beer. Do you think I could yell out?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Go
Here.
see if.
Can we
Harold-
mute the mic so I can yell?
I'll go do it.
Oh no. Okay.
I got it.
Okay, thanks. We'll just shoot the shit for a minute.
Yeah.
You guys shoot the shit. I'm kind of pissed anyway.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, get out of here.
well, Ben, tell me about what you do.
So right now I'm doing HVAC. So heating and air conditioning, refrigeration,
Installation, repair.
installation.
Awesome.
And so I, about 4 years, 3-4 years ago, I went to school for this just because I was doing it during the day. So I went to night school so that way I'd have my certs when we moved back up here. And then we moved up here and all the certifications I got didn't matter.
Really?
So I was actually, people were offering me like $20 an hour.
Right.
And I had just left making quite a bit more than that in California. And I'm like, well, it's more expensive to live here. And you're offering me like
Less.
way less.
Yeah.
And so I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. But yeah, so I do install for heating and air conditioning.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
And so you've been doing this for how long? You said like.
So
years.
I just came back to it about a month and a half ago.
Okay, and you enjoying it or?
Yeah. Well, I like working with my hands.
Yeah.
So
Amen to that.
I like having an output at the end of every day that I'm like, oh look, this is what
Yeah.
I did. So I like that part of it. I'm really over crawl spaces, and I have been for a long time. That's kind of why I tried to get away from it.
Sure.
But during the interesting times that we're in, I kind of had to go back to it. But then I realized all the mechanical stuff I enjoy, but crawling around my belly,
No
not crazy
thanks.
about that.
Yeah. I was just thinking I've been renovating my shop for the last like month and a half,
Ooh,
and it's dirty work. I mean, the paint on these walls and ceiling. I mean, this building is like 1940. It's probably never been painted. This is that good lead. This is that vintage dust.
the good lead dust.
Yeah,
it's the good stuff. You can get high when you're working with it.
This isn't your grandma's dust. You know what I mean?
It actually probably is our
It is.
grandma's
Yeah,
dust.
great grandma. Maybe.
Yeah, great grandma.
Yeah, so it's dirty work, and I hate that part, but definitely seeing the work at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah.
you should see the photos I sent Phil the other day, where it's like,
Yeah,
where the
I'd love
shop's
to.
done. Oh my god, it's fresh. Hey, Phil's coming back.
Oh, stop talking about him.
This Peroni work for you?
Yeah, Peroni's great. Are you guys having a beer with me?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sure.
I'll open it. You just.
So,
Yeah, open it.
do you guys ever cut, or is this just one continuous?
We go
Sweet.
continuous.
I mean, do you want to cut?
No need. No, I was just gonna open up the beer. I didn't know if the audience.
We're
wanted
doing
to
it
see.
right on camera.
There's a first for us. So
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
very
we
cool.
never
Hey, this is
drink
for
beer on the
Cassius.
side. He's like, "Where's my beer?
Dog beer.
Dog beer."
All right, boys.
kombucha beer.
Chin
Kyla.
chin. I don't know if I've ever seen Phil have a beer before. It's a kombucha beer, though.
It's a kombucha beer. All right. So what
So-
did I miss? What are you
Definitely
guys-
tastes like the sweat of an armpit.
Yeah, Ben is just catching me up on what he does.
Oh, I
with
gotcha.
HVAC work. So yeah, so we were talking about childhood.
Got it.
Yeah.
And kind of the progression. I don't know if I answered your last question.
I don't know what your last
What was your
question
last
I don't
question?
remember.
Jesus, now
I
I'm
think
lost.
I was just.
So I think you're catching us up. We went through junior high.
Yeah.
Now he started getting girls because
Started getting girls.
they found out that he's ripped.
Yep. Shredded.
I had a girlfriend for like 2 years. One girl for like 2 years in high school. And the next one we dated through like my end of freshman year in college. So I was like in relationships.
Yeah.
I guess I had my whore phase like.
You went on a tear after that.
Oh
right?
yeah, I went
Yeah.
bananas when I was like, graduated from college. First
Yeah.
few years in Seattle was
Yeah.
years in Seattle was pretty wild.
Didn't you when you went to college?
Pretty
You didn't
wild.
do gymnastics in college, but you actually did diving, right? And
Yeah.
the mascot stuff because that was. Were you too big for or just not good enough for
I-
gymnastics?
Well, so there was a mix of things. There was a confluence of things. There was, first of all, the amount of work that it would have taken. So I could have walked on the Penn State gymnastics team most likely, but it would have been so much work to be competitive in that program.
Yeah.
And it's a different game in college.
Yeah.
It's not just you. You're competing with your team, and the team score counts. And I wasn't about to bring anybody down, right? So if I wasn't like really at that level, I didn't want to drag anybody in.
Makes sense.
The more important factor, frankly, though, was I burnt myself out totally. There was this one, I don't remember the exact day, but I remember feeling like man, I cannot do this for another 4 years. I had other ambitions in college. I wanted to study abroad. I needed to find a job. I was there to study.
Yeah.
And to do gymnastics, like, tired of my hands bleeding, always being sore, waking up stuck to the bed sheet because the scab goes through it. I'm just sick of that shit. So I was I remember clearly thinking, like, there is no way that I can do this another 4 years. And I remember, since I started gymnastics, I dreamt of the day that I'd have my last competition.
Nice.
Right. So that was like a solid 14 years that I was dreaming of the end of this thing. So a senior year came in high school, and I was like, oh man, what am I going to do in college? So I tried out for the diving team, and I got it on the diving team at Penn State. So I dove for 2 years.
Did you know how to dive? Like,
no.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
You just had this gymnastics base.
Well, yeah, which surprisingly
look great in the
doesn't really-
Speedo.
Oh, look, yeah.
They're like, oh,
The weirdest. That was one of the weirdest
so
moments in my life.
Was that with that weird? Was that the comment about the coach? Did that have something to do with that?
Oh no, that's his Penn State.
He's like, hey, he's like, you want to dive?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
And so I dove for 2 years, sucked at it, and then I was like, well, what's the next most heterosexual thing I could do after gymnastics and diving? So I joined the cheerleading team. Before I became the mascot, so quite the resume there.
So you were like a yell king. Is that what they call it when you're on the cheerleading team, when you're just like a dude?
Oh yeah. Well, we would toss girls.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, we didn't have to
Those
like
guys
dance.
get a
or
lot.
anything like that.
Do you guys get a lot of pussy though? Or
I never hooked up with anybody on the cheer team.
it seems like that would be a nice in if you were like
It would have been.
this safe place. You were like this one man in this sea of these angry.
But see, when you have sisters, you don't think it. You don't have that predatorial mind.
I'm not a predator. Yeah. If Phil go off, he's like,
I know.
"Dude, it's like
I would
we
just
can
clean
fuck
that
with
shit
Mary."
up. Like if I had half your talent, I would have been a cheerleader from like.
He's talking about cleaning up. We're like, oh, look. That's just part of like.
See,
who
that's
you
maybe
were.
why I don't have any girlfriends. Exactly.
Phil's not here right now.
He's so insensitive.
Well, I look at that time I was still a huge nerd. Actually, one of my best friends now, Brian, lives in Denver. We actually became friends like a few years after we graduated. He came to Seattle right when I started Lawless.
Okay.
Coincidentally for work, he swung by, and like when I first met this guy, he just like fucking wouldn't stop making fun of me. Like he gave me such shit on the cheer team, and I was like, "Who's?" Like, I was.
He was a cheerleader as well.
And he was really fun. He was the mic man for Penn
Yeah.
State. So you have like the mascot and then the mic man who'd like do all the pep rallies and all that. And he was hilarious. I liked him, but he did not like me. It was weird. I was like, I had no beef with him. He'd make fun of me, but all of his jokes were funny. And I was like, all right, like I get behind this. Never like butthurt about it. I was like, I just don't fit in with these. The cheer guys were so funny. They were all so close, and I was just like the outsider. It was very awkward.
Again.
So anyway, so Brian, Brian's a good example. Like we only found a friendship after graduation.
Got it.
When I was on the cheer team, I was a fucking loser, man. I was a total loser. Yeah.
So funny.
So no hooking up for me.
No. Wow.
Well, it's funny that you said your whore phase was like when you moved to Seattle.
Yeah, man. I took my time to peak.
Well, it's just funny because, and so that's one of those relatable factors I have with you. About the time that you came to Seattle, 2012ish.
Yeah.
That's when I lost all my weight.
You went on your
and
tear.
that's when my tear started also.
Yeah. Here, I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
There we go.
And to it being over as well.
Yeah. Totally.
Had my fun, but
Well, and so when I was in elementary school, it just made me think of another relatable factor. Well, I didn't fit in either, mainly because I was homeschooled most of elementary school. I started in 4th grade, but I was a fat kid with a lisp.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I was good at sports and stuff, but I was the fat kid with the lisp, so it didn't matter how good I was at anything.
Yeah.
You were still the fat kid with the lisp.
I'm sorry. I wish I could be like, no, but it's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Now you're a fit, handsome guy, but like that's all good. It's all good.
That's right.
But yeah, that was college. So college was kind of weird because,
Yeah.
like I said, I studied math, econ, and statistics.
Well,
Like
what was the plan? I mean, with that stuff, did you have a plan? Were you gonna go into finance?
You know what? So that kind of goes back to what I was saying about my childhood. How I was like push and pull between wanting to fit in and finding my own way. And like there was always part of me that was like, oh, it'd be kind of sexy to end up on Wall Street. Make like 6 figures out of school, wear a suit, live in New York City, just sounded romantic. But another part of me, every time I went to New York, I was like, "Fuck this place," you know. And I on the one hand, I was like, "Yeah, that's what I really want," but I really didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't necessarily recognize it at the time. But the other thing was like, my dad's a professor, my mom is a land developer. They don't have jobs for all intents and purposes.
Right.
Like, my dad teaches one class a week and does research.
Right.
So he can work from home or his office, his hours, or whatever he wants. My mom is the same. She owns her own business. She controls her hours. So I never grew up in a family where it's like, oh, you go to the office 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That like never even crossed my mind until some point in college when I was like, wait, you're telling me that when I get a job, I have to be in the office from like 8 or 9 till 5 and like there's no summer break? What? Like, it just like clicked where I was like, oh my God, that's what life is.
Yeah.
I just never thought about it.
Yeah.
And once I thought about it, I was like, no. And that never left with me. That's why I sucked. Like, we'll talk about it later, but with Microsoft, like, man, it's just, how do people do laundry or like clean their place or
for sure
have time for their hobbies if you drive for an hour before and after work? Like, you leave at 7, you come back at 6. When do you go to the gym?
Yep.
Yeah.
When do you do anything? When do you find time for love or raising kids?
Yep.
So what the plan was so confusing. I don't know, man. Like, if money didn't matter, and if politics didn't matter, then I would be a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like a teacher for first graders.
That's funny.
Kindergartners.
Dude,
that's what I would love to do.
Yeah, my answer would be I'd be a teacher 7th, 8th graders because for me that was the very awkward moment. I this is a little too much about me, but I didn't go through puberty till way later than most of the kids.
No way. Like when?
I was a late bloomer,
like
dude.
30.
I'm still I'm just finishing up right now.
Me too.
No, but I went through puberty probably like 16 really is when it kind of and I had some, I was on the wrestling team in junior high and I was wrestling kids with mustaches. You know what I mean?
Man,
I had no armpit hair.
I had no armpit hair till I was like 17.
Yeah.
Damn. It was crazy. Huge insecurity. I forgot about that, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
weirdo.
Hey, weirdo, late bloomer.
Five,
yeah. So I think, for me, it would be teaching kids in the time where there's so much even physical transformation happening. Some kids are going through puberty. Some kids aren't. Some kids are like little kids. Some kids are like these little adults. It's a very weird time. So I always thought being a teacher, if money didn't matter, and politics, I guess now too, being able to influence those kids, because I think it was one of the weirdest times in my life and a lot of other people's lives. If you could help at least smooth the skids a little bit.
I 100%. That's exactly why teaching appeals. I love teaching, but like kids in particular, because it's just like when they're too old, you can't make much of a difference.
Right.
Like they're already assholes.
Yeah. They've had some trauma. They've had some abuse.
But I guess it's like identifying where you think you could have most impact.
Yeah.
Probably aligns with where your experience is. And in your case,
mine was 7th, 8th grade. Yeah.
Mine was like more that, like I was saying earlier, just wearing those Everlast leopard print shorts
and thick glasses.
I'd toss those out like candy. Be like, all you guys get them.
It's funny to think about if money didn't matter, because that's totally been. It's just crazy because all this stuff is super relevant to me right now, because now that I'm back working 4, 10 or 12 hour shifts, that's been my struggle lately. I'm like,
shit,
I don't have time for anything.
Yeah. Right.
Even for school right now. And so I've been doing, like, I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and I've been doing hours and hours of school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, basically I think what I would do is I would probably have a gym, and I would do men's recovery stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like helping
from
with
chemical abuse, or like
for chemical abuse, really just like kind of tapping into self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would just do it for free. It helps have some people come by, run a fitness class, and then like once they kind of got that restlessness out, sit around and talk about life, and I think that's what I would do.
Figure out a way to enhance their existence. I mean, teaching in its own way,
so
to a certain degree, right?
Oh, God. You ever, like, cross your legs and your nuts get stuck between your thighs?
I don't cross my legs for that reason.
I do cross my legs, but I can only do it one way. And yes, I've experienced a nut pinch more than once. Yeah.
Well, I'm all ball, so I'm kind of like the opposite of Cassius. So
I'm all ball.
No matter how, this is about as close. This is how it goes.
I'll keep that in mind next time we're rolling in the gym.
Yeah.
So, but I'll add like a caveat to what I said. If money didn't matter, I would be like a teacher.
Yeah.
That's what I thought before I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Right. So I used to think of, and to answer your question about the plan, what was the plan? When
I didn't have a plan, so that was putting you on the spot. Because believe me, dude,
I
when
still
I was
don't
about
have
to
a plan.
No. It's totally, it's a fair question. Great question. The plan was this. I mean, money, like I knew a few things. There was a few things that mattered to me. Flexibility, money to some degree, autonomy or powers to kind of govern my own job. I didn't want to be micromanaged.
Yeah.
All right, so I kind of identified a number of these things that were important for me. And literally not a single job I could think of hit all of those categories.
Right.
So and that's for a few reasons. Number one, when you're in college or as a kid, even after college, most people, and by most I mean everybody, except for like a select few, have zero idea about what kind of jobs are out there. For all intents and purposes, like most people think you can either be a doctor, like all doctors are the same. You could be a doctor.
Yeah.
You could be a garbage man. You could be a police officer, and just like whatever you add to that list. But what you start to see if you pay attention with age, with experience in the market, you see how many different jobs are out there.
Yeah.
Like things you would never think of. Like think about Microsoft, or Amazon. When you look at what people do, and you're like, holy shit, never would have thought of that.
That's a thing? Yeah.
That's a thing. So my lack of understanding of what the market opportunities are or were when I was in college limited my, I guess, my thoughts and what I could possibly do to match up with what was important to me. So my plan was like, okay, look, so I know these things are important. I don't know what job that requires. What am I going to do to maximize my chances of getting that job once I do find it? And that's why I chose to study math, econ, and stat, because I was like, okay, these are really good skills in finance.
Yep.
I could go to grad school if I wanted, maybe even med school. So I kept chemistry in my back pocket too, and some physics. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, and that my plan was to plan for that, to plan for the unknown. And I still missed.
Yeah. So I think from there, then let's go to. So then that almost takes us to the beginning. Kind of our origin story, where you ended up going and interviewing at Microsoft, and that was your first job out of college, or what?
Well, actually, so that job took like 8 months, I think, to finally get.
Yeah.
Right. So in between, I was working in Philly. I worked for Northwestern Mutual, selling life and disability insurance.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is, by the way, it's important work. It really is. Like,
sure.
I mean, I personally own a whole life policy and disability insurance and stuff, and it's really bizarre to me that only in working in what for me is a total shit industry did I see the value of it. Most people walking around, they're like, don't think about the importance of it, and for some reason they have these like sleazy guys selling this stuff. I don't get it. Anyways, important products. Go buy some, but it was just dirty, grimy work.
Yeah.
Cold calling.
You're butting it out, trying to sell insurance.
Oh God, man! And like,
I hate cold
people
calling.
look at you like you're scum, and you are scum. And it's just. And I'm making no money living in Philly. I'm living with like all the girls' soccer team of UPenn soccer team, the girls' team. It was like the girls' team and me in this house. Like 40th and Sansom, Philly. I was there for like 6 months, and like looking back on it, I was so depressed. I mean, you can't tell yourself in the moment, otherwise you'll collapse, right? But as soon as I got that job from Microsoft, it was like late December. A week and a half later, I called you.
Yeah.
After I got it, I was like, "Where's Izaqua? Where's Izaqua?" And you're like, "Issaquah?" And I was like, "Yeah." Or Sammamish. Yeah. And you're like, Sammamish. And I was like, shit. Yeah. So I was like, where are these places? I'm drunk in a bar talking to Phil.
Yeah.
And he's explaining where these places are. So a week later, I show up with like 2 cardboard boxes. All I own, Philly. I was like, peace. And just flew out here. Never looked back. But that job was miserable.
The Microsoft job?
No.
Oh, yeah.
The
Mutual.
Northwestern Mutual.
Yeah.
It's a great company, just not good work.
Right.
So Microsoft was my first real job, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, I think it was after one of Max's first business trips, one of my favorite Max stories was he texted me it was, again, a Sunday night. It was like 8 p.m. No. It was, actually, I take it back. It was like a Thursday night.
Oh, God.
Because you'd been traveling for work. And you texted me Thursday night. You're like, hey, can you pick me up from the airport tomorrow? My flight comes in at like 7:30 a.m. or something. I was like, and I just wrote him back, and I was like, dude, you make six figures. Get a fucking cab. I'm not driving to the airport to pick your ass up. Like,
I was like, good point. I remember reading. I was like, so my family's so stingy that they'll do everything.
Pick his ass up from the airport.
It's like $30 cab ride, right? Which is like, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for you.
But you were like, you make $150K a year. Like, get a cab. And I was like. Yeah, it hit me like never in my life again. Not just Phil. I just never asked anybody for a ride at the airport.
I wrecked it for you.
Like no, you didn't wreck it for me.
I still ask people.
I know.
I think I asked him for a ride to the airport.
Did I turn you down?
Probably.
I turn people down usually.
Well, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with asking for a ride, but there's something wrong with making $150K a year as a single guy and asking for a ride. You know what I'm saying? There's no shame in asking for a ride to the airport.
Yeah.
But
and I think that's old school. Like families used to drop each other off and pick each other up. It's like an old sort of tradition that we've kind of lost our way. But yeah, especially when it comes to business travel, like I don't ask anybody to pick me up. I have no interest in you know. Yeah,
I am the CEO of doing and asking for dumb shit until somebody brings it to my attention, and then immediately recognizing that I've been making this mistake for years. Yeah, and it's like instantly, I'm like, oh.
But your willingness to change perspectives is that's a notable skill set, having that nimbleness to be able to like consider a different view than what you're used to and just immediately like changing your stance on something. That's pretty impressive though, right?
Thank you. I mean actually it's one thing I pride myself on for sure. Like my initial knee-jerk reaction to criticism is not fuck you, or it's not to be mad or think about like, well, here's something wrong with you. Like even if I'm mad or something and somebody says something to me, my initial reaction is to think like, oh, is this true or not? Or when is this true or not? And that's part of my upbringing, partly because my parents are the exact opposite of that. Yeah. And it drove me nuts. And a lot of my siblings are that way too. So I like didn't want to be that.
Like they get defensive.
Totally.
The first line, the first move is defense, right? And I think the majority of adults even still operate that way, and it goes against like our fundamental nature sometimes to just like digest feedback and especially bad feedback, right? And not feel like butthurt. It's our ego constantly. It's a constant ego battle.
It is. It's never necessarily pleasant, but no. It's not an internal battle for me. Like it's not like something I have to try to do. It just happens where I'll like be like, yeah, you're right. I'm like that was dumb. It drives Kelsey crazy, but
I'll get like I could feel myself I'll get like defensive physically, but I won't let myself.
Yeah, that's good.
I won't let myself. I'm like, okay, I'm like, all right, let me take a second. You're right.
See, that's really impressive.
I'm stupid
because I don't have to think about it. Yeah. You do. I can't imagine how hard it would be to like control yourself. That's really impressive that you can like recognize it.
But I'm thinking about interesting people that I know, and they are have very strong opinions that are well validated and justified, but they do listen to opposing views and digest without immediately putting out their dukes.
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't know, like, statistically, I couldn't tell you, and I don't like all the super, like at least business-wise, super successful people I know. I don't know on a super close personal level, so it's hard to assess how are they, right? How people act in public is so different from who they actually are. Right, so if you're acting to your employee and he gives you feedback...
Ben is a chronic masturbator behind closed doors.
His FBI...
Is this door closed?
Some doors closed.
Somebody closed the door somewhere. I'm good.
It's another house, bro. But I don't know them on a personal level too closely, so I can't say. And how people act publicly is very different from how they act privately, of course.
Yes.
But I will say that for what I do... it's, I think, very important to have an open mind and take criticism and feedback. Yeah. Partially because what I'm doing is so new and unique that there's no way you can hit the dartboard like every time. Yeah. You got to let your customers decide. You got to let your employees decide. You got to listen to what feedback they give you. But you also have to have the ability to assess what part of their advice or feedback you want to take and what part you want to throw away,
and where you want to recalibrate,
Totally.
and where you want to stay the course.
Yeah,
right?
and so having being resolute, but also having the flexibility of listening. It's hard to kind of pinpoint, but you have to listen. You also have to be very decisive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Other jobs, it's not just the job; it's also the environment around the job, or how you construct your environment. A lot of other jobs, it's much more important that you are just decisive and you don't listen. And I can imagine some positions, maybe in the military, some jobs that are like much quicker.
Yeah.
That some action is better than no action, or even the wrong action is better than no action.
Yeah, because inaction is still a decision.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, inaction sometimes is the worst thing.
Yeah.
It's better to make a wrong mistake but still do something.
Yeah.
And some jobs require that, or will be better off for it. My job is not like that. I have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it fits. What I do fits my my ability to kind of listen.
Well, I think.
Yeah, because people don't even know what I do.
Yeah. So let's get up to that point. So
Right.
you're working at Microsoft. You're miserable.
Totally.
You want to go into as much or as little on that, and then how you ended up at Amazon, which now I have your job at Amazon. Funny enough.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give a quick overview of Microsoft. I mean, so I was a territory sales manager I worked with education customers, K through 20, universities, school districts, selling Microsoft licensing.
You're going in every day to a cube.
Yeah, so this is not a field job because I covered like 8 states, couple thousand customers, like annual quota of like $30 million or something. Yeah. By the way, most of that money comes in whether or not you show up to work.
Right? Because true story.
So a lot of it's just kind of run rate.
Yep.
And they'd give you some growth number that you have to annually have to achieve.
Yeah. It's your traditional commission sales job. But yeah, a lot of it, unfortunately, is driven by variables out of your control. So you can land in a very good spot, or sometimes you can get fucked.
Absolutely. And, what you're selling, like, you're not actually, it's hard to, let's not get too into it, but when you're selling Microsoft software, you're not spending a lot of your time actually selling the software. You're dealing with these complex licensing vehicles.
Yep.
Right. So it's just a lot of like
mind-numbing,
absolutely mind-numbing, pencil pushing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's very little like actual problem solving in sort of a useful way.
Sure.
You're not getting better at selling. You're getting better at working with these weird abstract constructs.
Agreed.
That are this knowledge is not transferable to anything besides working for the competition.
Totally true.
Right. And
I turned into a less effective sales guy when I worked at Microsoft because I just wasn't selling anymore. I was like trying to manage all the stuff that I hated about sales anyway, which is all this periphery, background, organization, watching the numbers instead of having business conversations, which is where I excel in selling, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can see how that would rub off on you. And if you and that type of work, for my personality, is the worst fit because my parents are both very pragmatic, very utilitarian. Like, just learn what you need. The rest is busy work, right? Just avoid busy work at all costs. And the entire job is busy work.
Yeah.
Like you spend your time navigating these complex structures, and that's all you're doing. You're teaching the customers about how you license software, which is exactly backwards because you should be teaching them about how the software can benefit them,
right?
Make their lives easier or improve the quality of their lives.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're doing is the antithesis of what I value and what I've grown up to value. So I couldn't get behind it, couldn't put the hours in, ended up just kind of clocking out. And I sucked at my job, regrettably. Instead of making the decision for them, right, I ended up getting, well, it's a voluntary separation, so I don't know what legally I'm allowed to say, but let's just say it didn't work out. I deserved it. It didn't work out.
Right.
I clocked out, and, looking back on it, it makes a lot more sense to me now because it's been, 6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But I totally squandered this golden opportunity that so many people like. I mean, man, this is the golden opportunity, and how I was given this opportunity. I feel like it was a spit in the face to the guy who bring me on. It was a spit in the face to my boss, who was exceptional, who was Phil's boss. Yeah. He's an awesome guy, right? And so there was a lot of those things, but now I realize that, like, okay, you were young and dumb.
You had to go through it, man.
And I, with me, I have to go through it the hard way.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I won't repeat that mistake.
Another theme. Ben can probably, we can both get behind the going through it the hard way, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, you did sort of repeat the mistake because you parted from Microsoft and then you went to the next biggest tech company or the biggest tech company in Seattle, which was Amazon, right?
Yeah, I worked for Amazon Web Services, so the cloud computing arm of Amazon.
So
I won't repeat the mistake a third time.
And what
I didn't say how many times though.
When I tell people, I always have to sort of give this reductionist view of like people that I'm having on. So when I tell people, well, he got a job out of the blue at Microsoft from just, balls out, the way he is, and hated that job. So it essentially ended. And then he sold his way and tricked his way into another job that actually paid more money.
Yeah, this was crazy. So after the Microsoft job, I was like, oh yeah, well, shouldn't be a problem finding a job that pays that well, which is crazy.
Right.
Because I'm like
one job out of college.
One job out of college. I'm like 24, making like almost $200,000 a year.
Yep.
Right.
From zero college money to $200,000 a year.
Yeah. Well, like worse than zero college money. Like broken Philly.
Yeah.
Broken Philly. I couldn't even afford one of the cheesesteaks. Like, I've never had a Philly cheesesteak.
We need to go do that.
So I get fired from Microsoft, and I had the hubris to go like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll find something else. Like, how stupid does that sound, right?
I'll just find another $200K job with no work experience.
Like, and now I realize how ridiculous that thinking is. But it's also that kind of ridiculous thinking that allowed me to do it.
Yep.
Right? Because if I was too timid, then it never would have
totally
happened. But that's certainly stupid thinking, so don't recommend it for anybody. That's something to be extremely grateful for and work your ass off for.
Yeah.
Do not repeat my mistakes. I'm ashamed of them. So I applied for this job. I didn't have a reference for anybody who worked at Amazon. So it's really hard to get into these companies unless you get referred directly.
Yeah.
So what I did was I was like, I was perusing these jobs on the Amazon site. So I found a job that I was like not qualified for. But I had my resume was baller at this point. So I was like, okay, I'll apply for this job, definitely going to get rejected, but hopefully it gets like on the radar. And that's exactly what happened. So the recruiter emails me back. I still have the email. And she's like, you're not remotely qualified for this job, but I looked at your resume, probably because she's like, who's this douchebag? You know what I mean? So she's like, but I looked at your resume and I think there's a team that'd be a great fit. And that was the job I got. Okay. And so my girlfriend at the time, I had to fly, like, this is a weird thing, right? So for the job in Seattle, I had to fly to DC.
As we have our Virginia offices out there.
Yeah, Virginia, right.
Yeah.
I had to fly to Virginia to interview for the job. And I remember I came home and I told my girlfriend at the time, I was like, or before I went, I go, I'm not taking this job because everything you ever heard about Amazon was you get paid less, they work you like animals, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And by the way, this is a valuable lesson on kind of listening to what people say and getting information from the right people. They say pay you less than Microsoft, they work you like animals, blah, blah, blah. So I took this interview just as practice because I was like, I'm not going to work for Amazon.
Yep.
I flew out and I met the team and they were super dope. Like my who ended up being my boss, she was awesome. The other teammates, awesome. Like to the point where I was like, what's going on? Is this a cult? Because like they were so good, so on it, no BS, very pleasant people. Like I just liked their faces. I liked to be around them. And I was like, weird. So I came back and I was like, I told my girlfriend, they were like really cool. Like they were really cool. Then the next morning at the job, the whatever, acceptance. They sent me the offer. And then so first, it was the people suck, they overwork you, then they pay you less. Well, this was even more than what I was making at Microsoft.
Yeah.
Like significantly more.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, what? Like none of it made sense because everything everybody ever told me was the exact opposite of my experience over the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
So I remember I looked at the offer, I threw the phone at my girlfriend and I was like, take a look at that. Am I reading this correctly? And she's like, ooh, you got to take the job. I was like, all right. So I took the job, right? And like Phil just said it, same thing happened. It was like I ended up just kind of
lots
clocking out.
Well, there's a ton of but remember, you took the job, and how long were you working there before the TV opportunity? Because I think that's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, it was like a month. I just started at Amazon, and like Amazon's vacation policy when you start, not good.
It's very tight. Yeah, like 2 weeks.
And nobody takes it.
Nobody takes it. That's exactly right.
Right. It doesn't matter how much time they give you. It matters how much time is acceptable.
So yeah, Max is working at Amazon, this brand new job. Remember, he left a great paying job at Microsoft.
No, I got hacked.
Oh, you got hacked at a great paying job at Microsoft. Gets an even better paying job at Amazon. He's there for a month, and then you get hit up by was it Discovery?
Yeah, so it was a survival show on Discovery Channel called Men, Women, Wild. So it's the same producers as Naked and Afraid, I think.
Yeah.
Horrible name, Men, Women, Wild. Jeez,
Yeah.
it sounds like Girls Gone Wild or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
sounds a little rapey.
It does.
To me.
Yeah, on Discovery Channel. And they're like, because before I'd interviewed with Amazon, we got in touch with this recruiter for this show they were trying to make. And my girlfriend and I, so it's a reality show where they send couples to like different places around the world for 3 weeks, 21 days, and you just have to survive.
Yeah,
like without tapping.
And
it's not a competition.
they drop different couples into different environments. Like one is in the rainforest, and one's in the desert.
Exactly.
Like one's in the
One couple was in Morocco in a desert. The other was in Norway.
Norway, cold as shit.
And then my ex-girlfriend and I, we were in a jungle in southern Mexico on the border of Guatemala, Mexico, and Chiapas.
And so you guys tried out for this prior to your Amazon job, but what happened was you were put on the alternates list. You didn't make the initial cut.
Yeah,
right?
We were slightly late to the process. They just preferred this other couple more, so they selected us as backups. But they didn't tell us they were filming. So like it's like a Sunday or a Tuesday, one of those shitty days.
Yeah.
And
Every day
my ex and I were like on
office.
our sailboat, and we both get a call like at the same time, like, "Hey, the couple dropped out. We need you guys in, like, now." And like I said, it's like Tuesday or a Sunday. I don't remember which day. We're drunk on a sailboat.
30 days after taking your new job.
30 days after starting my new job. It's like middle of the summer in Seattle, which if you don't know is gorgeous. You don't want to leave.
You don't want to leave. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shit. Because I'd be gone for a month. I've been at work for a month. And I'm going to more than double my vacation time immediately after starting. So I'm like, oh my God.
Right. How can you even ask, right? That's
you can't,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
So you can't ask, is this okay to do? You basically have to give them your decision. And so it was harrowing, man, because I was like, oh. But, whenever I'm never going to, this is like a childhood dream.
Yeah.
You get the opportunity to like tough it out, like with nothing. They don't feed you or anything like that. So it was a very difficult, like 2 days or 3 days. I made the decision. I was like, I told my boss, I go, listen, I understand if I don't have a job waiting for me when I come back. I was like, this opportunity is calling. I got to go.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that this is one of those things where
you got to do it or you'll regret it.
For every day for the rest of my life, I will probably be thinking, not the rest of my life, let's not be dramatic, but I'll be thinking about this for a long time.
Only until you're 67.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it was just
should have been on TV. Yeah.
And the tough thing is, man, like with these kind of decisions, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that often, myself included in this situation, I remember calling so many people and just kind of being like, what do you think? And what I was doing wasn't actually looking for their opinion. I was looking for them to make a decision for me.
Gotcha.
Just so I didn't have to pull the trigger myself.
Yeah.
Right. But then it kind of got to the point where I was like, I have no time. And I'm so thankful to this day that I made that decision.
Yeah.
But coming back from that, I thought I didn't have a job. I was very surprised to know that I did.
So you went to the Mexican rainforest for 3 weeks. Basically, you were gone a month.
Yeah, we were gone a month. Right.
You're out of work for a month, then you were gone for a month. Figured you probably lost your job, but it was a once in a lifetime chance to be on TV. As far as you,
yeah, it wasn't even about the TV part.
Yeah,
that's the part I cared about least.
Yeah,
I didn't give a shit about being on TV.
You just the actual concept of the show, the survival thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, if it wasn't filmed, it would have been even better.
Yeah,
it would have been more. I mean, you could do that anytime you want.
Yeah.
You got a month? You said you got the luxury of time. Let's go do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you come back, you still have your job at Amazon, which still surprises me a little bit. But Amazon, and I will say this for folks listening, I said the Microsoft interview process is intensive. The Amazon interview process is even more intensive. And I speak from interviewing multiple jobs there, and I work for Amazon right now.
Absolutely.
it's even more intense, and I think because of that, there's a lot of investment that goes into new hires and finding the right candidates for the culture, and so it is hard for them to like just let a guy go who they love and they just brought you on board. But I could also very easily see them justifying letting you go.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and my boss, she was so cool about it. She was like, very, very similar to my mom. She's like, you know what? It's kind of like weird decision. You know, she's like, but I understand.
Yeah.
She's like, she wasn't mean about it or anything. She was just, she was like, I get it. She's like, this is a thing. I see, you know, I can get behind that. She's like, I'll fight for you. And she did. I love
crazy.
it.
What? And then the other thought behind that is, okay, she does go and fight for you. That's just good leadership, right? Because right off the bat, you're like, oh, I have somebody in my corner. And so what that usually breeds is loyalty and hard work, right? So you come back and then you're ready to, you're like, oh, you stuck your neck out for
a
me.
while. Yeah. And then when the boss switch, there was, you know, so kind of in this case, I started to shut off whenever changing bosses.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that kind of went south. And I decided to leave before it went any further south. And basically the reason I left Amazon was I had this one conversation with my old colleague Dave, who he's not old, but he's older than me. My former colleague Dave, and
I think I know this Dave.
Yeah. Oh, Dave. Yeah.
Last name with an S? Or
yeah, well, both.
Different one. Different one. Okay.
So I call Dave, and I was having this kind of like moment where I'm like, oh, this new boss, all this and that. I call Dave and I go, dude, how do you like your job? We have the same exact role. And he's like 48 at the time, right? I was 29, 28, something like that. And he's like, dude, you know what gets the kids through college? The wife's happy. And I was like, Dave, that is the worst fucking answer I have ever heard in my life. I was like, that is not what I want to be saying, right? About my job. Like that.
In 20 years.
Right. Which, and the thing is, I admire people who do want to say that.
Sure.
I totally get it. That's just not me.
Yeah.
Right. That's not what I'm looking for.
It's got to mean more. It's got to,
Yeah. And you can, you know, Phil, you can agree to this. It's like, man, they pay us enough.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle is super comfortable.
Yeah.
All things considered, super comfortable. The pains we have to put up with that work is nothing compared to not having money.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And what it affords our loved ones and all that is amazing. So, you know, you get complacent, like this comfortability. You don't want to throw it away. So,
for sure,
what motivation is there to leave or take a risk or change? Very little. Right. But apparently, for me, so it's the same reason that I squandered the opportunity with Microsoft. It's exactly the same reason that I was able to leave Amazon and take a risk.
Yeah.
Is because of hubris partially, but also partially, it's hard to separate. Like, am I being arrogant by thinking, oh, it's not a big deal to throw this away?
Definitely something to that.
Well, yeah, I think there's a part of that, but I think also, and I learned this later, I think there's a large part of me that's like, this really isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's following a calling, and it's also the ability to undervalue really what I'm given, the opportunity I'm given.
Right.
You know, being ungrateful to some degree helps you be okay with walking away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So in one way, it's a weakness. It's terrible. It's terrible to not be grateful for something. But if that allows you to do something you're really happy about, how could somebody really be like, oh, you're a piece of shit? Right. So, and I understand that criticism. Like, and I got that from my parents and some of my friends.
Of course, the parents are the worst because they come from a different era where loyalty, you know, maybe your mom or dad worked at the same job. I know my dad worked at the same job for, 20 years or whatever, and they're proud of you. You're working at Amazon. Like, there's that parent filter can really fuck up a decision-making process.
And it's a good filter to have.
Yeah.
Right? Because here would have been the smart thing for me to do. Stick with my job, start the company while I'm at my job, and then leave once it's going.
Yeah.
Right? That would be a good way of doing it.
But you didn't do it that way.
I can't.
But also, with what I've heard from Phil, I mean, with the time demand, how do you start a company?
Yeah. Dude,
and
there's always time.
That's fair.
There's always time.
Well, I guess I don't know enough about Amazon because, like, with my work, I guess it's different with my work because you can't, like, you have to physically be doing something.
You have to physically be doing that.
No,
every hour of the day.
That I get.
Yeah.
But you also went to night school. Remember that?
Yeah. But how do you start a business at night that Well, I guess. I don't know. I'm about to learn about your business, so I can find out.
I wouldn't say every business is this way. You're absolutely right. It's not that simplistic. It's not like, you just keep your job, start your business, and leave your job. I'm speaking only from my...
You're saying that would have been the practical thing to do.
Hell yeah.
In hindsight, right?
Even in that time, I was like, oh, this is dumb.
Well, then I think this is a critical moment. So let's talk about it. So you're at this point at Amazon. Again, you got another golden opportunity job. You don't love it. Don't even like it. And then what kind of, and you've always been wanting to do something else, it sounds like, but you didn't really know what that was. Then what took you from Amazon, quitting your job, to where you are now? I know we did that boys' weekend right down to Portland.
Yeah, so there was definitely there's a few things. Okay, so I'll kind of talk about that separately. When I left Amazon, I actually did not leave to start Lawless Forge. I left to start. I had 3 ideas business ideas, and I don't want to talk about one of them specifically because it's still something I want to work on down the road. But I had 3 ideas, and I kind of prioritized them in level of what I thought was most viable to be profitable over, let's say, a horizon of like 2-3 years. Okay. So the first one on the list, I said I'm going to give 60% of my time to. The next one I'm going to give 30% of my time to, and the last one I'll give 10% of my time to. And I sort of did that, and very quickly, all 3 of them, I realized either I didn't think it was going to be, either I didn't have the skill set or the experience to realistically think that and I don't mean that in a self-deprecating way. I really mean that in an honest self-assessment. Yeah. Like, these projects are pretty ambitious, and I just didn't have the chops. And I still stick to that decision today. Like, I probably have a better chance now, but before. So very quickly I realized either it wasn't something I was capable of doing, or it's something I really didn't care about doing as much as I thought I did. Right. If you're starting something new,
you gotta care. You better be invested.
I have to care.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Some people can do stuff they don't care. I have to really be in it. So all 3 of those fell off the list really quickly, like within, I would say, 3 months. And then,
so you're unemployed. You're exploring these new ideas, and
right.
you're pretty quickly figuring out that all 3 aren't going to work for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I wish there was like a good story behind this, but I think it was like one night. Really, it was just I just remember having the idea. I don't remember not having the idea. You know what I mean? Like there's no, but I don't remember the moment.
Yeah.
So the idea is this. It's a blacksmithing experience. Simple as that. All right, now let me rewind a few years. My girlfriend at the time got me a birthday gift to go make knives out of railroad spikes, to forge knives.
And this was post TV show.
Is it post TV show?
I think so, because
I don't remember.
Because you found Oak Bottom Forge when you were looking for a knife. When you were looking for a knife to bring on your TV excursion. Am I right?
You were absolutely right. Okay, yes. So this is post TV show.
Yep.
All right. So we go to Oak's Bottom. Right. So my ex-girlfriend gets in touch with this knife maker down in Portland that I like a lot.
And you like them because you were looking for a survival knife for the TV show.
Yeah, I was looking
you were allowed to bring.
Right. I was allowed to bring a knife, and I couldn't find who they were, or I did. I just didn't have time to go get the knife, something like that. Anyway, so after the show, my girlfriend at the time, she got me a birthday gift to go forge knives out of railroad spikes over a weekend with 3 of my guy friends. So it was me, Phil, Josh, and Dan. Yep. Right. It's 4 guys. And by the way, this shop doesn't offer classes for blacksmithing knives.
It's just a little artisan shop that makes knives, right?
Yeah, they do have like weekend courses that go over like, a few weeks, but they don't have like one-off classes. But the girlfriend was convincing, so they said, sure, we'll do it. So we're down here for the weekend. I was going down, I was like, I love knives. I've never thought about blacksmithing, never gave it any thought. And so here we are drinking beer, playing with fire in this molten hot metal, hammering on these ancient anvils.
Dirty ass.
Yeah. And we're just making knives.
For a weekend.
Me and 3 of my great guy friends. And I was like, this is the best bro experience I've ever had in my life. Like, it was so fucking cool. And I was like, how have I never thought to blacksmith before? I never even given it any thought.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I was like, how is this not a thing? So I kind of started looking into it. And it wasn't a thing. but I only thought about it from the lens of like, oh, I would like to do it again.
Yeah.
So fast forward, after my 3 ideas fell post Amazon, and I was prioritizing my business ideas and very quickly realized they weren't going to happen. Somewhere in the mix, that idea came back to me. I was like, well, what about a blacksmithing experience? What if like I could package that up in a different way, or in a way that I envision would be awesome, that's not being done? And so kind of started putting the pieces together, and I refined the idea over time. Probably I would say 6 months just thinking about it. And what I came down to was it should be a corporate, like primarily focused to corporate teams, a blacksmithing experience, bonding, team bonding, morale event, whatever you want to call it. But it's a blacksmithing experience primarily for corporate teams.
And because you came from the corporate world, you know there's budget for this stuff.
Oh,
right?
Totally, right?
Yeah.
So I but I also knew there were shitty options.
Exactly.
I also knew that all the options are played out. And beyond that, I knew that it's difficult to book these experiences for managers. They don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
Like, your manager is not paid to book a team morale event. They're paid to hit their numbers if you're in sales.
Yeah.
You got other objectives. This is just one of those things they're tasked
They
with
sort
doing.
of have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? All the experiences that they have out there, they're boring. They're hard to book. They suck. So I was like, let me make something that is not hard to book. Let me make something that is awesome.
And then managers that you could even...
Yeah, so I have this network, and so kind of design it's self-promoting if they're making something, taking it back to the office, right? So it's these 3-hour blacksmithing classes. You make a cool knickknack to take to the office. You can forge bottle openers, you can forge chopsticks and wasabi bowls, you can forge spoons, knives out of rebar, knives out of horseshoes, things like that.
Yeah.
3-hour projects. You walk out with a cool object, you take it, people are like, oh my God, that's awesome. They're showing it off. I made this.
Yeah.
And so I just whittled away at this idea and was like, that's it. So I ran with it. And that's what Lawless Forge is. It was the product of 3 failures.
And leaving 2 very well-paid corporate jobs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that was 2.5 years ago now that I started the company. It was
okay.
August of 2017.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like a beautiful, I mean, I remember going and seeing Max's first space. He was so excited. He called me down there. He's like, dude, you got to check out the space.
Yeah.
And I came down and I looked at this space, and it's in this huge old building. They call it the Big Building, right near my place in West Seattle. And it was overwhelming, the amount of work that I envisioned seeing to make this thing hum. I think I shook you a little bit, because I'm like,
oh, dude, I'm used to it.
I was like, all right, man. I mean, I believe in you because I've seen you do it before, but it's going to be a lot of work.
It was difficult. Well, and I'm used to this as well, but how underwhelmed you were.
I was super underwhelmed.
And how excited I was. I was like, oh, he's going to love it. And he walks in and he's like, this is it?
Dude, it gave me anxiety.
Yeah, I saw that. That gave me anxiety, man. I was like, shit.
I was looking at this dirty ass warehouse that Max had a vision. I couldn't see it at all. And I was just like, how is this going to work?
And, funny enough, that was so I had a small, tiny shop for like a month.
Yeah.
Had my first class, and then the big shop that I'm currently in opened up.
Yep.
I was like walking to the bathroom, and the guy who had that shop was like, hey, can you give me a hand to load something into a car? I was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm moving out. So I called the landlord. I'm like, give me this shop. And they're like, sure. I couldn't afford it.
Right.
I just started my business in the other shop. And then
much smaller.
So now I had to start over, put in all this work to renovate. But that was roughly 2.5 years ago that I got that shop. And only 3 days ago did it finally hit what I was imagining from day one. And it took 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
And I sent you the photos that night.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
It's
awesome. So 2.5 years.
Yeah, we'll have to
Weird
put some
timing.
up.
Weird time. Yeah, 3 days. It was Friday night.
Yeah, it's amazing. So now, I mean, I don't want to, and you can talk about it a little bit more, but now Max is running these, we're in this kind of weird quarantine situation in Seattle, but prior to the global pandemic, Max was running these classes. You have employees, you have this amazing influx of both corporate and private citizens that are coming in. They're making something. They're having this experience.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is we talk about struggle, and I told you this early, it's like you're providing this safe manufactured struggle, but there's still struggle. Like, you can still fuck up this knife, or you can still make a really shitty pair of chopsticks. Now, granted, Max will come and fix it within 2 seconds, but you're creating this environment. Not only is it like a team building event, but it's really pushing people out of their comfort zone. Because let's be honest, most people haven't blacksmithed. I mean, I grew up working blue collar jobs, but I'd never pushed metal at all.
Yeah.
So
I think that Phil, you hit it right on the head. That struggle is very important part of the recipe for a sense of fulfillment.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or growth, right? So what I always kind of say is, if there's no struggle, nothing that takes you out of your comfort zone, or nothing that's difficult, then it's just another walk in the park, and you won't remember that. It's just another day. Yeah. But as soon as something scared you, you had to run a little bit in the park, you'll remember that.
And you don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Totally. And just enough struggle is good. Too much, then it's trauma.
Yeah.
Too little, then it's too easy. Just enough struggle is super healthy, and that's one of the very important parts of memorable experience.
Yeah.
And that's very central to what I do. So part of that comes naturally.
And that's why we wanted you on here, because of that.
Oh, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the smoke part of the whole.
You're in the smoke right now. Yeah. I mean, you are, right? Like, you've created this business, through all these, and much like Ben's story, much like my story, we have these stories where we've made things harder on ourselves than we probably needed to, and
Absolutely.
We've also had shit come at us that we weren't expecting that made things hard, and because of that struggle, we were pushing ourselves. In your case, you couldn't imagine your life being this cube world for another day, right? And you had to get the fuck out of it.
Let me put it this way: after Amazon, and it was probably almost a year until I had my first money come in from Lawless, which isn't profit. My first revenue.
Right.
Went through a breakup. Couldn't afford my condo, the mortgage. So I was like, okay, so I rented it out, cover the mortgage. Moved in with a friend for like 2 months. Got the shop. Once I got the shop, I moved into the shop. I was living at the warehouse.
And this is not a place you want to live.
No, it's not. I was slumming it, man. Like, right? It was nothing sexy about it, right? I mean, I renovated the back living area nicely, but it's still like,
it's a dirty, loud warehouse.
Which is kind of cool because I pull my car into the warehouse and close the big barn door. So I always loved like that idea of having like a living room where you can pull your car into, right?
I agree. Every guy wants that shit.
If a shop was where it is now, it'd be sexy.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't. It wasn't. But I didn't care. I mean, there was a time I literally had 76 cents in my bank accounts between checking and savings. Where like I didn't want to liquidate stocks. I had liquidated a lot of stuff to get things off the ground, and there was nothing sexy about it, but at no point did I think like, I wish I was still at Amazon. Microsoft. Like, no, not a single time.
And that's a tell, right?
Well, so that gives you an idea of like, all right, if I was slumming it, living in a warehouse with no money, trying to do this thing nobody's ever done before with blacksmithing.
Yeah. And you weren't a blacksmith.
And never did I despair and think, I want to go back to Amazon. How unhappy do you think I must have been at Amazon? That's the lesson I get. Like, I didn't think of it at the time, but now I look back, I'm like, damn, man, I wasn't slumming it. I was slumming it before I left Amazon. Like, that's for me, that was the thing.
That's interesting.
Right? And it'd be one thing if my business was on the up and up, but it's been decimated over the last 3 months since COVID started. Right? And I'm saying this right now, like, things will come back. I'm confident of that. But it's been a very expensive few months, man. I've got 4 full-time employees. I've got 4 shops I now rent. Started with one.
You've expanded a ton.
I've got like 5,000 square feet. Like, so we have three different shops that we can actually have concurrent classes in. Before COVID started, we were on averaging just under 300 people a week. Right. Not only did that go to zero, but all the customers who had booked between March and late June canceled, meaning they're mostly refunded. We try to reschedule some of them, but most refunds. So we're talking about, dude, it's a huge amount of money. Refunds.
At least 5 figures, maybe 6 figures in no, more than probably 6 figures out the door, right?
It's a toss up.
Yeah. And we are in such unprecedented times, and I'm sick of hearing that, but really, like, this is Even
we
the
don't
good
know.
business, it's crushing the good businesses. Your business
Totally.
was doing great.
I was less than 2.5 years into business, and then this thing hit.
Yeah.
Most businesses would have fallen flat on their asses. I'm so lucky that I've been in a position where I didn't have to lay off my employees, not yet at least, right? And we're where we're at. So I'm super grateful. But it's tough. But even right now, like, it's not my first rodeo, right? I mean, that's the hard times, like, if you learn from them, or at least I choose to tell myself, like, there's never been a time I didn't figure it out. Just one thing, things will not always be okay. Things will not always be okay.
Yeah.
But way more often than not, they will be if you work for it. Way more often.
Yeah.
In some form or another, they'll be okay. Most
Definitely.
of the time. And today's not the day it will fail. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. And this is not what's going to take me down. So it's been hard, but like I'm so glad I'm where I'm at with all my experience. That's why I don't despair. Like I always have decisions to make. As long as I have decisions to make, things I can be doing for the business. Or in personal, like if your car breaks down, well, the only time it stresses me out is if I run out of options.
Yeah.
If I'm like literally can't think of one thing. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with this. I'm like, okay, I've got things I can try, I can do. As soon as I run out, I'll let you know. And that's when I'll be like, oh shit.
You got to go to
But we're not
another
close.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still solidly in your plan A, which is great. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
It's messy.
And you've seen the Forge. I mean, it's
I've seen it, and now I'm really bummed that I've never been
Yeah,
in
we'll
a
get in
corporate
there.
position to do a class.
Now we'll get in there and do class when things are open.
yeah, we
back
don't
up.
just do. I mean, you could just come in. Whatever.
Yeah.
Just with a couple friends, like bring your girl. That'd be good.
Yeah.
You know, so we do date nights.
Yep.
We do corporate team buildings, like a very significant portion of the business. We also do open enrollment classes. We do date nights. We do friend groups, bachelor parties, birthdays, any kind of group.
And you're also tied in, or you were tied in with Airbnb, or no?
Yeah. So, well, that's part of the open enrollment portion, right? So we're starting to add like seasonal classes where you can kind of like come in and forge barbecue sets, barbecue forks,
Okay.
things like that. That'll be like for June, July, August kind of thing, and then come winter, maybe like I don't know, Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
Hanukkah in my case. well, Hanukkah sucks though. Like I don't. Man, my family gave up on Hanukkah. We just do Christmas now.
Is that right?
Yeah, man.
You guys folded up the Hanukkah thing?
I remember we had like a small revolt, like with the siblings. We just got shitty gifts one night in Hanukkah for Hanukkah, and like my parents were like, "We're never doing this again." just switch to Christmas.
Just switch to Christmas.
Well, we actually did New Year's because that's where you get things cheaper after Christmas.
I
Yeah.
see.
So our New Year's is what we'd celebrate.
Is where you guys would get
That's when we
your
got our
Christmas
gifts.
present, because everything's on sale.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You could tell how surprised I was to learn that Santa Claus wasn't real, right?
Yeah.
I was like, well, he shows up for us on New Year's. This guy's got, like, how many days a year does this guy work?
Funny shit.
Oh man.
Yeah. So Lawless Forge, as it is right now, we're in this weird pause that's out of your control. We're assuming business is going to go back to business as usual, and you'll keep cranking. I have no doubts.
Business as usual, who knows?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people spend a lot of energy trying to predict what will happen and not enough energy planning for all the possible outcomes.
Okay.
Right? So I'm not so much vested. I'm not putting my eggs in any one basket saying, here's what I think will happen.
Yeah.
What I am doing is kind of sitting like, okay, here's a combination of things I think might look like reality. So I know that for at least the next, let's say, half a year, our corporate team building is going to be like, let's say, non-existent.
Got it.
All right. So that means that we've got our private groups, families, birthdays, bachelor parties, that kind of stuff, and our open enrollment classes. That's going to have to be a bigger portion of the business. Those are always secondary and tertiary markets because corporate team building was our first.
Yeah.
And I never had time to get good at marketing to those groups. But now I have to, which is awesome, right? Because now not only do I have the time for it, but it's also my only option of moving forward. So I was going to, at one point, I was like years down the road when it becomes worth it, I was like, oh, okay, then I'll figure out how to market to private, like non-corporate groups and public classes. I said down the road in years. But why do that if I'm making money on the corporate team?
Sure.
But now it's like flipped on its head. So I'm like, oh, great. Early on in my business, I have the opportunity to get good at targeting not just my primary, but my secondary and tertiary markets. right? And so this is a great learning opportunity for us, for my team to dial that in. So what I will say is, once corporate team stuff picks up, I don't care when that is, whether it's 6 months or a year or 2 years, we'll be ready.
Yeah.
We got plenty of other stuff we can focus on until then.
Awesome.
Right? We're already good at the corporate stuff. So whenever that happens, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
All I can plan for right now is, well, we got the other groups.
Yeah.
How do you figure it out? Go get those customers. Change the curricula as needed. Adjust what I need. But I have the instructors. I have the space. I have the dexterity, right? Because it's only one location at this point. We were supposed to have a second geographically distinct location lease signed at the end of May.
Yeah, and that fell apart.
Sucks.
I know.
Totally, it's a bummer.
It's a bummer, but that's that weird pause that nobody can control now.
No use in looking back.
So is the vision? Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, so you were saying you have multiple shops, but only one geographical location?
Thanks for asking. Yes. So we have one geographically distinct location right now. In that location, we have multiple rooms.
Okay.
Multiple, shops in the same building. We can have concurrent classes in.
Okay.
We were supposed to have a second geographically distinct location signed at the end of May.
Okay.
So we would have a physical presence elsewhere.
Where was that going to be?
So most likely Redmond, Bellevue.
Okay.
So
well, that would definitely make sense for the
Eastside.
corporate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then from there, kind of
maybe expand out of state.
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't want to give away your big strategic plan.
Oh, I mean,
you know his plan? Come on, man.
No, there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because my first thought is, man, Tacoma's super industrial, and I just bought a house there, so I'm like, why don't you come down to Tacoma?
Yeah, it's part of the plan. I mean, every major metro area should have a location.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, and the experience is so. I mean, maybe I don't want to just keep talking about Lawless Forge if you feel like you've expressed it, but I mean, you literally have, especially with these corporate groups, you have developers maybe from India who've never done physical labor. All they've got is their computer science degree or whatever. They've been studying since literally never have done physical work, right?
Oh yeah.
And they're going in and they're all of a sudden working with metal and fire, and it's such a spectrum of people. All of them you can kind of assume have done very little or nothing in the world of blacksmithing.
Dude, that's the coolest thing to see.
Yeah.
Right. And frankly, so look, we're talking about this now from the lens of it's working.
Yeah.
Now, if you rewind 3 years ago before I started the company, and when I told this to my friends and family, there was kind of two pushbacks I got most commonly. One was, what about women? Which freaked me out too, because I was like, I never thought about it. So my mom would never bat an eye at trying it. Right, so I never thought.
And you got some badass sisters too, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like my sisters are they're no. I just wouldn't think of them as separate.
Right.
Right. And then somebody's like, "Oh, what about women?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like it started to panic.
Yeah, don't say that in Seattle.
well, that's the one thing that surprised me.
Yeah.
That it was in Seattle. I was like, "Who? What? Why are they any different?" Right? It wasn't my idea. Somebody else brought it to me. I was like, and then it started getting me thinking. I was like, "Oh," and so here's the problem with getting a sample about something that people have no concept about. You can't just walk around and be like, "Would you try blacksmithing?" 3 hours and make. They're like, what the hell? Probably not.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
And dirty.
Yeah. So that's one piece of feedback that scared me. So I had no idea. Well, maybe they were right. Not just women. But what about most guys, software developers?
Yeah. The guys with soft hands.
Yeah. The other piece of feedback that I got was, do you think corporate teams, first of all, those people have any experience with tools? Do you think you can even get them through a class? Totally. Those are two super fair. Well, I think that second one is a fair criticism. The first one is just concern more so.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh fuck it, we'll see. And that's where my the teaching thing comes in. I love teaching. Teaching since I was a kid.
And you're very good at it too.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's because I was a very slow learner. I have to learn things in a very you have to dumb things down for me to make them so basic so that I can learn. So I got good at that. right? Because that's the way I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
And with something that's so new to people, it helps very, very much if you could just break it down to the most, only provide the information that's valuable, and leave out the fluff, right? And that helps with this kind of thing. So from that perspective, right, if it wasn't me, I think, designing these curricula, I don't think there's, or me training the instructors originally, now it's kind of snowballing, but I don't think there's a way you could get these people through these classes.
Totally.
There has to be a very particular approach you do to teaching and to assisting. People get to do these things. So
well, the nice thing about that too is that, or the way what I would think is that since it is something that's so foreign to people, that you are you're not hiring people with bad habits. Like that's the hardest thing with trades, right? Is you hire people who have done, they're like, oh, I've been doing this 5 years, and they come and you're like, you left houses like that in that condition and you think that's okay? Like these people are gonna die. Like, and so like the fact that you're doing something that is dangerous, right? I mean, you're playing with fire
and
so,
sharp metal
objects,
heavy hammers,
you know, there's the risk factor, right? But the fact that they have to learn everything they know from you, and you're able to take it from that step. I think there's something about that.
That's I appreciate the perspicacity. Ooh, there's a word.
Perspicacity, is that a real word?
Perspicacious? Yeah. Hey Siri. Like clairvoyant, or like just being able to perception.
It's a perception thing. Yeah.
Perspicacity is being able to perceive.
I mean,
anyway,
go on.
Yeah. So the stupid word. Anyway, you're right. I'm not hiring blacksmiths.
Yeah.
Right. I'm hiring instructors.
Yep.
That's the most important thing. Is that you know when to be a cheerleader, you know when to bring up the energy of the group, but you also know when to step the hell back.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's about the students having the experience.
Yep.
You're not the star of the show.
Nope.
You know, people are there to enjoy the company of each other, not and to enjoy the company of the instructor, I would say.
Right, the instructor, I mean, you are an asset. Like
totally.
You need to be entertaining, you need to be charismatic, you need to make sure everybody's safe, but you don't want to be hardcore, and I think that's where the name, I'd love to know where the name Lawless came from. My guess is you don't want to be so hardcore, and I've been through these kind of experiential scenarios before where the instructor is so safety focused that it kind of takes some of the fun away, because you're like, I got scuba certified, and it was just like,
come on,
it was just beating me up with the safety with one of the instructors, and the other one was super laid back, and just it can really take away from the experience if like it's too much safety concern. There's too much talk about what if.
100%. 100%. So it's interesting because like sometimes I think I understand people in general so well, and other times I'm totally off base. And with Lawless Forge, I was like, when I started, it was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do this the way I would want it to be done if I was a student. And in this case, it seems like I nailed it, because there's not a single warning sign, there's not a single caution hot sign in the shop. Not one. Right? I don't want people to walk into this place and feel like it's Disneyland, where it's like fake. I want it to be a real experience. I want it to be like out of your comfort zone. I want you to try something unique and not be babied through it, and have the opportunity to make mistakes, have the opportunity to redeem yourself. I want it to feel lawless. That's really what it is.
Awesome.
And so I'm never, like, as far as I can legally avoid it, I'm not going to ever have a warning sign anywhere, because people, if you give them the opportunity, will either step up to the plate whenever safety is required. People know what's dangerous and what's not. They do. If they don't, that's where the instructor comes in. That's where the instructor comes in to make sure that he's keeping an eye on everybody. And he's there to remind people. He'll say, don't do anything stupid, and make sure people next to you aren't doing anything stupid. That's the important thing. People should self-police. Right? And
carries over to society so much.
It does. And you mix that with an experience that's brand new for everybody, people aren't messing around. You know, people don't go to the gun range for the first time and like wave the gun. You know, they're very
focused and nervous.
Very focused, and that helps with self-policing in our case, with blacksmithing. Now, if this was something people were more familiar with, like let's say, I don't know, if it was like a driving course. People drive. They're used to driving. So they might do something really dumb. But here, they're treading lightly.
That's a good point.
And so the nature of the blacksmithing experience lends itself to people self-policing. And actually, surprisingly, being a lot more safe than you would expect.
And probably hyper-focused, like you said, because there's this danger aspect, there's some anxiety built in. So you found this ridiculous combination of, still to this day, if you were to tell me, if I knew nothing about how your business progressed over the last 2.5 years and you were to bring this idea to me today, I think largely I'd have the same response as like, it might work. I don't know. No. But it fucking works like gangbusters. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, and to be clear, right, it's not just the structure, the format that makes it work. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? There's a lot of things involved with, like, where you're located. Who's your customer base?
Yep.
Who are your instructors? How does the class flow? And all of these things have to be right, because I could have just as easily done it wrong.
Yep.
I think, and there's still time for me to fuck it up. So,
Well, I'll tell you one quick story. When I went to your shop early on, checked it out. You had your anvil set up. I think you were setting up for classes, or you were already running classes for a few weeks. I remember sitting at my terrible desk at Amazon in an internal conference room because we were out of space in our building. So they shoved my whole team, and I was managing a team at the time.
Oh, man.
And I remember sitting down at my desk and my leg cramping up, my right leg cramping up. Like, what the hell did I do to my right leg? And then I was like, oh, I hit it off one of the anvils at Max's shop, and I had this huge bruise on my leg. But it made me smile, especially going back to an office that is so nerfed, where every corner in the Amazon office is nerfed. Like, it wasn't like, oh shit, that bruise hurts. It's like, oh, it's amazing that you can go to this place and the world there is not nerfed. It's dangerous. You can get hurt. And I just got hurt walking around. I bounced my thigh off one of your anvils.
That makes me worried. Wait, so nerfed? I've never heard this term.
Yeah, nerfing the world.
Soft,
like picture putting like the little
soft foam darts.
The soft foamy on every sharp corner.
Makes
you want to nerf the world, right?
Yeah, man. That is so opposite from what so that's like what I was saying is, like, sometimes I feel like I get people so well, other times I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where I don't even understand why, but I'm like, all right, it's working. You know the story of the millipede, right? And the grasshopper. The grasshopper goes to the millipede and he says, dude, with so many legs, how do you walk? And the millipede is like, I don't know. And then suddenly the millipede couldn't walk because he's like thinking about it.
Overthinking it, yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing. I'm like, well, it's working. Right. So I don't want to overthink it. To some degree, it's very important that I understand it because that's what I can replicate. But for other things, I'm like, I'm fearful. I'm like, just don't mess with it.
Don't overthink it. Don't break it.
The car's running. Just don't open the hood.
The funny thing is, so whenever I'm excited because my wonder of how you got to this point, what I put together in my head was, this, like, Phil's got a lot of unique friends. Like, this dude was a blacksmith. Apparently now he probably built something for somebody, and now he does classes. Like, so that.
Oh yeah.
So this is a very eye-opening experience for that.
This is a dude that had his no blacksmith experience who just decides one day.
So amazing. I think okay, so that's interesting because I get that a lot. People,
I know, I'm reducing it down to probably further, but yeah.
No. What I'm saying is, I get that a lot. People like, oh, like, you had no blacksmithing experience and you did this. And when I think about it, I'm like, that sounds nuts. Like, you're totally right. It sounds nuts, but I think maybe that it's hard because we try to fit a history around our story. So I don't know what reality is anymore in terms of, did I think about that or did I not?
Yeah.
But right now, sitting here thinking about it, I don't think that was really a concern because, like I was saying earlier about my parents being so focused on pragmatism, just like, focus on what you need, the rest is noise.
Yep.
It's busy work, don't do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of started, even a year or two after we did our blacksmithing thing, right, in Portland, Phil, you and I.
Yeah.
I took mental note. I was like running through the list of tools that we used. And that list of tools, I was like one or two things shy of what I remember using for a weekend.
Yeah.
Like 2 years before, I was like two tools shy of what was actually needed. Right. And I was like, well, what is needed? So I just started talking to blacksmiths. Yeah. Literally started, Googling blacksmith Seattle, walking to them, talking. And I was like, here's what I'm trying to do. Can you help me? And people are so willing to help.
Yeah.
Now, there's no magic to it, right? I can see now, if you look at the final or the product we're at now versus where I was then, yeah, it can look like magic. But don't forget, there's so many spots in between.
Yeah.
Right. And at some point, it was just me and a piece of paper writing out tools. And if I walked you through each step, you're like, yeah, no, that makes sense. The only thing about it is it didn't cross my mind to not try. I'm not afraid of trying.
Yeah.
For something like this, I'm not afraid of trying. And that's super valuable. My mom definitely gave me that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think both my mom and dad never punished me for failing. They only punished me for not trying.
And maybe more importantly, they didn't try to protect you from failing, which I think is where things really fall apart today. You know, we are, Ben and I have talked about this extensively, you know, even with regard to this podcast, is like, how much of our time have we spent trying to be comfortable?
Yeah.
And how much effort into trying to be comfortable, which is really elusive. Like, you know, comfort one day could be something totally different the next day, but we are so addicted to our comfort, and we are so addicted to not the idea of not struggling. But just like what you're saying, like you injected struggle into your life to create this business, and by leaving your job, you had no other options besides make it hum, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's a really good point. I never thought about it from that perspective. But the more I got into this world of running my own business, the more I allow myself to struggle, and the more I try to. I mean, struggle is kind of, I don't want to suffer.
Right.
Right. But I'm much more keen to put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
Where I see it's worth it.
You don't avoid it.
No,
you don't avoid it. When
like
you see like there's a potential for failure, when you see it's going to be potentially hard work, you put your head down, you run through the fucking wall, and that
100%.
Not everybody does that, right? And I'm still working on it.
Well, yeah, totally. Not everybody does that, myself included in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I think a big part of that is ownership. Right. And passion behind what you do. Because Phil, God knows how much work you put into like training physically.
Jiu-jitsu.
You that shit.
Yep. Sometimes.
Right? And I like, so I'm notoriously really lazy. Like, if I don't have things to do, I can sleep for like 15 hours. I'm not kidding. And I'll go to sleep at like midnight. I'll wake up at like 5 p.m. and do that over again. I will do that to the end of my life.
And for folks just listening, Max is like 6% body fat. He's a total dime piece of a dude. I'm sandwiched in between a bunch of dime pieces on the couch here.
Yes.
Oh, those two.
Yeah. Yeah, the dog, the sandwich between the dog and Ben. I'm like really lazy, right? But what I realize is that's it's bad if I don't have something that I care about. Like back to Microsoft, back to Amazon. I was lazy because I wasn't passionate. But as soon as you give me something I really have ownership and passion over, I am an animal, and I won't stop until that. Yeah. Like the last 2.5 years, man, I've been busting my ass and been so happy to do it. Yeah. So I'm only lazy. So laziness is one thing, one way of thinking about it. The other way of thinking about it is apathy.
Yeah.
I'm not so lazy as I am apathetic.
Same here.
And that's exactly you. So you're not, it's not that you're not willing to work. You're just not willing to work for something that don't matter.
Yeah. Or I'm willing to do it just enough to be sort of off the radar and competent, so I can go do other things in my life. But
right.
I'm still working on figuring out the grand scheme.
Well, for where you want to apply your energy. But like, I mean, this podcast, putting this together, think about how much work you guys are doing for that. That's awesome. Right? So imagine, there's no magic here. Right? Work, ethic, intelligence, not your problem. Not most people's problem. Yeah. It's just finding that channel. Yeah. Right? I mean, I'm 100% certain of that.
Yeah. And actually, one of the things I've enjoyed about this is I've seen him motivated.
Yeah.
For the first time.
I know, it got me excited.
Because like, this is how I feel about all the things in my life. So when people ask me how work was, I never know what to tell them, because you just go and you do it. It's not.
That's okay. Yeah.
You just go, you do it, and you pay your bills. But when you ask me about something like this is how I feel about when people ask me what I'm doing. This is the kind of thing I think about.
Totally. Yeah.
And so, like, whether it's like trying and failing at music, or going and doing the CrossFit coach thing, or whatever. And so I always have something I'm focused on to really motivate me to work hard, and then the rest is just whatever.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, other than jiu-jitsu, it would even be hard to get him on the phone, because he's just doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But now
or not doing what I should be doing.
Yeah, and feeling bad about it.
And then a lot of guilt and shame. And,
Totally. I'm no stranger.
Now I hear from him every day.
Yeah.
Like, what about this? What about this? And so it's been really cool to see him come alive, because it's shown me a drive that, because outside of doing music together, like we never worked out together until the last couple months.
I want to see what that says real quick here.
It says low power.
Oh boy, hold on one sec.
Oh yeah, so that's interesting.
I'll get it off this.
Wait, what time are we at? Or like how
We're
long?
at 2 hours.
Oh, sweet. I don't know how long you guys want to keep it. I got to take a bathroom break. Do you guys want to cut for a minute?
Let's close this.
Close that. It's still recording.
Still recording.
If you want, you can just go to the bathroom if you want.
Still the bathroom, dog.
Okay, sounds good. Here, I'm going to take the mic with me.
Power
I hate this Phil guy.
Are you going to be able to use your power cord?
What I was going to say is we could stop for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and juice
stop.
it up a little bit.
All right.
And then we'll just do a part 2.
Sweet.
So,
Totally.
So why don't you hit stop then?
yeah, we'll just stop.
Oh. So